Just frame that in proper context.
I'll put it up in the front room.
Right, just the tree?
Yeah. What else is there now? What do you put up?
We put up the tree.
What else? A garland?
I just, the main thing is just to get the tree up, and then we can have fun.
We only lost 2 balls as well.
Yeah, did you break any balls?
Hudson, obviously. They
But
make a
should
delightful noise as they smack off the wall.
No, but would they not be all plastic balls?
That's what you would think, isn't it? But I'm
there's
not
an
in
odd
charge
one.
of the balls. So
Yes, all
that's
right.
what you would think. But
Yeah.
we'll not open that can of worms on air.
No, we won't. We'll keep our
But I
things
would
to
go
ourselves.
for plastic balls if it was
Plastic,
up to me.
bouncy balls. There's a lot of talk about balls. We'll move on, won't we?
Yes. Come here.
Good luck.
See you later, Lee.
See you later.
I don't know what page.
Did you clear the Did you get the glitter off?
No, the glitter's there.
Did Hudson scratch you in the nose again, did he?
No.
No, the other side. There.
Yeah, he
He
possibly
did.
did, you know.
You need to cut his nails. He gets sharp. They grow so quick and young ones, don't they?
They do, indeed. And that's
Razor
also
blades?
not my problem.
Okay. Well, it's your nose.
I drew it up, I suppose.
Good luck.
Lee, see you later. It is 2 minutes past 9. Let's get a news update. It's over to Donna Marie Doherty.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. Donegal County Council has approved works on a number of public projects, including a cycleway which has been described as the first of its kind in the country. The projects are in South Donegal, Letterkenny, Milford and Fanad. Alex Rowley reports.
At the plenary meeting of Council in Lifford yesterday, members approved work on 6 projects in Donegal. One of them, a shared pedestrian and cycle path linking Ballyshannon and Bundoran, was described by Councillor Barry Sweeney as the first cycleway linking 2 towns under an active travel scheme. The construction of 10 2-storey social housing units at Mulroy View, Tamney, was also given the go-ahead. It'll consist of a mix of 1-bedroom apartment units and 2, 3 and 4-bedroom housing units. Members also approved works on the Letterkenny Cultural Corridor, linking on Greenan Theatre, the Regional Cultural Centre and the Donegal County Museum as part of the Letterkenny Connect programme. The green light was also given to improve pedestrian facilities on Killybegs Road, Donegal Town, and Coopers Road off the Market Square in Milford, as well as public artworks at Maracar outside Bundoran.
The Justice Minister says she doesn't want Gardaí operating with one eye over their shoulder. Helen McEntee has asked the policing authority to review how much force Gardaí can use when dealing with serious public order incidents following last week's riots in Dublin City. She says it will consider what additional equipment and resources are needed, and that could include access to the likes of the dog unit, stronger vehicles and non-lethal equipment.
I'm also asking them to look at and to provide clarity when it comes to using force. I do not want members of An Garda Síochána looking over their shoulder, responding to these incidents where they feel that force is necessary. I want them to have the confidence to respond in the way that they deem appropriate.
A temporary ceasefire in Gaza has been extended by 2 days, with more hostages expected to be released later. The truce was due to end at 5 a.m. Irish time, but Qatar, which has been leading negotiations between Israel and Hamas, confirmed 2 sides agreed to extend their truce. 50 Israeli hostages have been released so far, and in return, dozens of Palestinian prisoners freed. Noor O'Day is a Palestinian political analyst.
We are in uncharted territory on so many levels. All of these prisoners in Israeli captivity are viewed by the society as hostages of the Israeli occupation. And so any of them released is welcomed by Palestinians.
And finally, there are calls for dedicated leave to be brought in for women and couples who are undergoing fertility treatment or a miscarriage. The proposals by the Labour Party are due to be discussed in the Seanad tomorrow. The party says couples are forced to use annual leave if they're affected by an early miscarriage or are undergoing reproductive treatment. Looking to weather, there was a frosty start today with some of the mist and fog lingering. That will slowly clear through the morning, leaving a mostly dry day with spells of sunshine and scattered showers. Highest temperatures of 4 to 7 degrees in a light variable wind. That's all for now from Highland Radio News. The next news update will be at 10 o'clock. In the meantime, keep up to date with the latest local news on our website, highlandradio.com. From myself and the news team, good morning.
Because your health means... BHI are here for the whole you, with the whole of us. Our own doctors, our own health centres, and a wide range of our own specialists. From dermatologists and paediatricians to women's health experts. VHI, because your health means everything. VHI Insurance DAC trading as VHI Insurance is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
The county's number one talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio.
And now it's time for the talk of the Northwest. The 9 to Noon Show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello, good morning. 6 minutes past 9 on this Tuesday, the 28th of November 2023. How are you getting on? You're very welcome along to another edition of the 9 till Noon Show with me, Greg Hughes, and you as well. We want you involved in the conversation. Start your own conversations. Get involved. The lines are open for you right now. WhatsApps and texts to 086 60 25,000. If you're listening outside the Republic, it's 00353 86 60 25,000. Give us a call too. 07491 25,000. Caroline, of course, ever present. Shannon, working on the show as well. 07491 25,000. And your comments from anywhere in the world, comments at highlandradio.com. Coming up on the show after 10, we've Community Garda information with the latest... and you'll hear it for the first time here, the latest appeals and information from Garda Síochána. Garda Grania joining us for that. And there's so much more besides, so stay right where you are. Let's see what's in the papers this morning. We'll start with the Donegal Democrat. The Minister for Health has admitted certain aspects of the health service are currently not acceptable, but stressed things are improving in Donegal. Minister Stephen Donnelly turned the sod on the new Letterkenny Community Hospital last Friday morning and beforehand held a meeting with local general practitioners with a later appointment taking place with consultants. And Sean Murphy, the manager of Letterkenny University Hospital, talks in Letterkenny, he said, were positive with more to come. Donnelly commended the great work being provided by healthcare workers and also the work within other medical facilities, which have been a significant factor in the steps on the road to recovery thus far. There are, though, still steps to be taken, with the next locally being the €37 million 80-bed Ballyshannon Community Hospital, which is expected to be opened within weeks. Okay. On to the Irish Times now, and Dublin communities may form vigilante groups to protect themselves from violence unless the Garda crack down on thugs and far-right extremists, councillors have told Garda Commissioner Drew Harris during a tense meeting following last week's riots. Dublin City councillors complained Garda management had taken a soft approach towards the far right and appeared to have a policy of appeasement towards them. In replying to criticism of the Garda response on Thursday's violence, Mr Harris said Gardaí often felt their hands were tied in dealing with public order, and cases taken against Gardaí in the performance of their duties had resulted in a chilling factor or a loss of confidence amongst members. Green Party councillor Janet Horner told the Commissioner that people did not feel safe in Dublin. I've heard talk in different circles of vigilante groups in multiple areas being organised in response to dangers they feel for the communities. But I mean, the majority of what happened, however you want to choose to describe people politically, the majority of what happened on Thursday, are we in agreement, wasn't far right, was it? It was thugs, not just from a certain part of Dublin either, from all over Dublin and from outside Dublin. They saw a bit of civil unrest, they saw a bit of public anger, and they thought, right, let's go and get ourselves some runners and a push bike and a scooter. They weren't politically motivated, and I would say they probably didn't really even know or couldn't articulate, what they were doing or how they were doing it. I mean, obviously there is as it's described, a far-right element, but I don't think it is they that were responsible for that chaos we saw in Dublin last Thursday. Now, there are, of course, videos and audio files circulating calling people out to the streets, but I don't believe that's why these young people did what they did. On to the Irish Independent now, and public attitudes towards media, democracy and trust in other people in Ireland has become less positive in recent years, according to an Economic and Social Research Institute report. Socio-political attitudes born out of austerity led to public satisfaction with democracy, politics, media and in society declining substantially after the 2008 financial crash. Ireland started and finished the study period of 1998 to 2023 with some of the most positive social and political outlooks in Western Europe, but some attitudes became less positive after 2019. While the study has underscored that social and political authorities are more positive in Ireland than in the North, there has been a fluctuation over time. Report author James Lawrence said the Taoiseach reveals the research reveals important insights into the conditions that influence social and political attitudes and citizens' connections to and trust in their society and institutions. And in relation to the media, it's really quite simple. People are switched on. People feel they can curate their own news and get their own news and information elsewhere. And unless the media challenge power and ask questions that are relevant to the public and not be PR for whomever's in power, then there's always going to be a dissatisfaction with the media. On to the Irish Daily Mail now. More on Gardaí and the tools and permissions, I suppose, they have to enforce the law. Gardaí is set to be given new guidance which will empower them to use force when necessary under plans set to go to Cabinet today. Now, I saw videos of Gardaí, or maybe their armed, the rapid response, I'm not sure, or the riot police, whatever you might want to call them, with their shields out, battening people. Saw quite a bit of that. So I don't know what further powers they need or are missing something here. I'm not here anti-Gardaí or pro-Gardaí, but I did see them batons drawn and using them. But Justice Minister Helen McEntee will today tell Cabinet that the supports available to An Garda Síochána dealing with public order incidences, including clarity on the use of force, are to be reviewed. It's understood the Minister believes that Gardaí should not have to look over their shoulder or second-guess themselves in circumstances where the use of force is warranted and necessary. A government source said she wants Gardaí who put themselves at risk to have clear guidance on how they can use force when necessary to do their jobs. Ms McEntee has asked the policing authority, in addition to their ongoing oversight work in the area, to review how frontline Gardaí dealing with serious public order events such as the riot in Dublin last week can be further supported. Is that something you would be in favour of? Do you think the Gardaí need more clearer? It seems to be a theme coming from guards, though, that they are afraid to use force for fear of reprimand or being suspended and long-term investigations and so on and so forth. What do you think? 086 60 25,000. Right, what did I... Oh, yeah. Conor McGregor, he's been incredibly vocal. I mentioned this on Friday. If he were to stand for politics, however he might do it in this country, I think he would actually do really quite well. But anyway, Conor McGregor is now officially part of an investigation by Gardaí over alleged incitement to hatred around the Dublin riots. The Star has learned that following an examination of recent social media remarks by the UFC star, McGregor is now part of a wider official criminal probe, which was formally alluded to yesterday by Garda Commissioner Drew Harris. Commissioner Harris revealed to Dublin City Council's Joint Policing Committee yesterday afternoon that there are now 3 live investigations over the horrific events of last Thursday. They involved one on the stabbing of the girl, one on the riots, and another on social media commentary suspected of inciting hatred. The Star understands that McGregor, who posted to X, formerly Twitter, both before and after the riot last Thursday, is one of the individuals now under investigation as part of the criminal probe. Again, this is a very... in terms of legislating what people can say and how they say it on social media, this is also getting into a bit of a sticky spot here. You know, because who polices what you say and what you can't say. I saw his tweets, Ireland is at war, and a few other things. But if you weren't allowed to say that on social media, it would be, I don't know. I think they have to, from a legislative point of view, there's certainly stuff that needs to be police, but they have to tread carefully here, don't they? McGregor, who tweeted that Ireland was at war and you reap what you sow, has not been spoken to by Gardaí at this juncture, and a spokesperson for him did not return a comment before the article went to print. Okay, some shocking statistics coming out from Childline. This is in the Irish Daily Mirror. Childline volunteers have told of their heartbreak of listening to children complain of the monster who enters their bedroom at night. The ISPCC yesterday revealed its dedicated hotline was contacted more than 100 times in relation to sexual abuse in the last month. That's 100 kids that rang Childline because of sexual abuse in the last month. It gets an average of 26 calls on a weekly basis about child sexual abuse. In addition, 169 contacts this year were due to incest, and between 5 and 10 calls a week are from teenagers about rape. The charity also said 120,000 calls a year are classified as level 4, which is the most concerning and accounts for 1/4 of their total calls. And as I've said before on this programme, I understand, I don't understand, but I hear And it doesn't say whether I understand it or not. I hear of the fears people say they have about, the future and threats to children or whatever it might be. But there's an awful problem in this country at the moment and has been historically, and people need to get motivated and talk about it as well. When you see those statistics of young children who should feel really, really safe and protected in their homes, the amount of them calling Childline, 120,000 calls. Now, I presume some of them will be multiple calls, but 120,000 calls a year classified as level 4, which is the most concerning and accounts for 1/4 of their total calls. Now, we're living through that right now, and I think that's something that we really need to get a handle on and look after our young ones. And finally, I kind of gone off watching football, i.e. soccer, a little bit now. I just find it a wee bit disjointed and messy, and a lot of it's down to VAR. I find it's disrupted the games, but things could get worse. In fact, a game of football now could last 2 hours because VAR might be used for corner kicks and free kicks. Premier League matches could turn into 2-hour marathons if footy chiefs wave through plans to extend the VAR system. Extending the checks to free kicks, corners and yellow cards will be discussed at a meeting today. Lawmakers at the International FA Board want more involvement from the video booth, but the FA says the move is a step too far and it would infuriate fans already angered by stoppages and howlers. The IFAB will meet at Heathrow Hotel, and a source close to the talk said this could easily hand more decisions over to video referees. Can you imagine throw-ins and corners and yellow cards all being the subject of a VAR review? Maybe it's something you'd welcome. Again, 08660 25,000. All right, that's a run through what's making some of the pages of the newspapers today. We'll be creating our own headlines after this break.
The newspapers are courtesy of Kelly Centra Mountaintop Letterkenny, the 2022 C-Store National Off-Licence of the Year.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
Hi, it's Brian Cunningham here, inviting you to join us for our Christmas Candlelit concert, featuring Dana, Philomena Begley, Cleona Hagan, Sandy Kelly, Chrissy Mack at St. Cronus Church Dunlow, Sunday the 3rd of December. Tickets €30 and available from St. Cronus Church, the Cope Dunlow and www.bcunningham.ie.
The Plumpty Dumpties worked overtime to deliver an Aldi Christmas that was simply divine. Fresh whole Irish turkeys from $8.99 on sale from 20th December. Horseshoe hams from $13.99 on sale from 24th November. And in store now, Christmas puddings from only $1.69 and deep-filled mince pie 6-pack only 99 cents. Scrumptious selection of tasty bites, perfect for Christmas days and nights. Aldi, share the love this Christmas.
Mr. Blue Sky, please tell us why.
The Euro Millions jackpot is an estimated €85 million. Play responsibly in-store, in-app or at lottery.ie. The National Lottery. It could be you.
Do you need a UK address? Save hundreds of euros on custom charges shopping online with Space Hub Dairy. We provide a full virtual address mailbox service for all your business and personal use. Save hundreds, possibly thousands, on custom charges with Space Hub Dairy. Call 048 71 87 8077 or online spacehubdairy.com for more details.
Cai Ciantálathe, Gníomhairí Stát, Gníomhairí Ligan Waine, agus Gníomhairí Baniste Waine I Bublach de Héran, Cadúnas PSRA a bheith acu. Tá Iberthirí nachhfuil Cadúnas acu ag brise an lí, agus tá siad ag cur de cusantótóirí I Guntuirt. Is féidir leat clár Gníomhairí Cadúna an PSRA a seiceáil ag psr.ie, agus Iberthirí nachhfuil Cadúnas acu a tuairisciú chuig info@psr.ie. Teachtareacht ón Údarásrí Lala, Servishi Waine.
Highland Radio time checks with Expressway. Travel Route 32 from Letterkenny to Dublin when you book online and travel for less. Expressway, bringing you the time at
The time is 9:20. Now, did you see a image grab that went viral over the weekend? Lots of people commentating on it. It's about requirements needed from GEA players before they sign up for 2024. There's 11 of them. Anyone planning trips to Australia for the summer can't be part of their senior panel for 2024. No holidays during the championship, June to October. No drinking during the championship, June to October. Pre-Christmas individual running conditioning program for listed training panel all need to be logged on an app. January to March, collective running and S&C work, mandatory attendance and fitness test markers, pre, middle and end, and on it goes. We'll get through some of those. Well, I won't. We'll get Eamon McGee, former inter-county footballer, columnist and club footballer as well. You're still at it, aren't you, Eamon?
No, I'm finished up now, Greg. Thankfully, then when these charters are starting to come in, I'm just on the. I'm trying to
figure 1 to 11 which one forced you into retirement here.
I think I've gone through all them rules and broke every single one of them now. So thankfully, that's not a thing for me anymore.
Right. So looking down these rules, I mean, they emanated from the west of Ireland. I don't know if we know anything more specific than that. Maybe you know. I certainly don't. But looking down through them, what do you think? Is this the future?
I think that's the way the club game's been going now for a while, Greg, in terms of the commitment and what's to be expected, and for me it's just someone, and as it turns out, I actually thought this was a wind up when it initially came out, and it turns out it's genuine enough, and for me it's just someone that's in management that just doesn't get it. Like he thinks he's dealing with 6 or 7 year olds and will set boundaries, and you're dealing with adults, you're dealing with human beings, and it's just silly stuff. But we've seen this coming with the club game, and you have to take into reality too that the club game and and the inter-county game are different, and they should be different. The inter-county game now is an elite as elite as you can make it for an amateur organisation, and the club game is supposed to be, although there's competitiveness and they want to be elite, but there's supposed to be a bit of enjoyment, and there should be a clear distinction between the two.
Yeah, but that being said, see how some of the level some of these teams operate. Like Glen, for an example, would give a lot of inter-county teams a run for their money. Like some of these club teams are operating at an incredibly high level.
They are, and there's fair enough, but they're. You would think that they're operating on a level close to inter-county, but the golf is massive in it, and they're still, for me, and I know people have different opinions in this, but for me, that there's still a room for that player that wants to go out for the few pints, doesn't want that all encompassing, this is my life kind of mentality of sport, the elite mindset. That's the word I'm trying to get there.
Yeah, and do you think really that when you run through these, you can see, right, this is maybe a manager that says, this is what I want from my players, but it's when it sort of encroaches into their private lives. Do you think that's when it's a step too far in terms of the training regimes and logging? There's probably some young fellas and women that would go, right, I don't mind that, but is it when it sort of starts saying you can't do this privately? Is that when it oversteps the line?
Yeah, and I think, there's one there, I don't know what rule it was, but in terms of what sports you're allowed to play, you're not allowed to play soccer, athletics, golf. Now, personally, I would ban the golf, just completely ban golf altogether. But
I don't think that's got anything to do with this list, though.
But no, that's when you have a problem, that you are going into the personal life, that you can't do this with your own time, you can't do that with your own time. So that's where I have the issue. And the tracking's in already, in terms of there's apps out now for the gym programs where you type in then people that are monitoring the apps can tell exactly what you're lifting and how many reps you're doing. So that's there. And it's just the thing, you don't need to be doing. If you have a good dressing room and you have good lads, you don't need to be putting these rules and regulations about.
So I think just in a pre-convo with Caroline, you said you could see the club game going this way. I mean, is that if one or two teams employ this type of regime and they start doing really, really well, that others say, well, look, if we're going to compete, we have to do it? Or why do you think this could creep into sort of a norm?
Because I just see it from my own time with Guido and with the different types of commitments involved in it, and it's like the arms race where one team does this and then the other team has to do this, and it just keeps escalating, and nobody's going to step back from it, because the reality is the more time you give to something and the more time you invest in it, the better you become in it, and the more you give to that. And that's why I think the inter-county thing and the club should be separate. You get that in the inter-county, you give yourself completely to it. But with the club, there should still be, that wee bit of breathing space. But I could see it coming in terms of, there's just so many different commitments involved, and what should be told or should be pointed out also that is not bad to commit to something.
Yeah,
I think that there's a part in society now where you're it's frowned upon, where you totally commit to something and you go about and you high achieve, and that shouldn't be kind of cast aside either, like that. But you should still have a life within that club game.
Do you think GEA has a role in sort of looking at things like this and saying, right, we have to be careful here, because it's like a ripple effect, you know what I mean? This could eventually sort of affect participation or the game itself. Like, do you think that there needs to be a diktat coming from Dublin or the provincial councils to say, look, we need to establish the difference here perhaps between inter-county and club football?
There definitely should, but whether clubs would listen to it, like I think a high percentage of clubs, we were in a pandemic, and a high percentage when we weren't supposed to be training or meeting collectively, and a high percentage of clubs were meetings. So whether they listen to a diktat from Croke Park or from the headquarters is another matter, but they definitely should be coming out and leading on this topic, because what will happen, and we see it in inter-county football already, people are just saying, no, this isn't for me. And that's fair enough. If it's not for you, just walk away. But you should have the club game as that, because you love the game, you get involved, you started from a young age, and you shouldn't be chased from the club game because you can't give that whole commitment. So there should be definitely some kind of leadership from Croke Park on this.
Because if you talk to of players or former players, often if you ask them some of their greatest achievements or their greatest games, even if they've operated at the highest level at inter-county level, it's often what was achieved with their club, or a particular performance or a particular title which was won.
Yeah, and there's a lot of love for the club game, and in terms of the rules too, like you go through them players, and a lot of their best memories won't be on the field at all. It'll be interacting with their teammates, be that socially out for a few pints or just having the crack, no messing about on the golf trips or whatever it was.
Yeah, what's your problem with golf here, Eamon? No, seriously.
That's a whole show.
Have you not even tried it? Have you not even tried it?
No.
But you're retired from football now. Come on. You need to be competitive.
I might join one of these golf societies and get the odd trip once a year in it now, but that'll be the height of it now.
Yeah, and is there? I mean, to someone from outside of Ireland or perhaps maybe outside the sport might think there's a booze problem in GEA, because there's an awful lot of focus on drinking, and I think even you talked about the few pints with the lads. It's not tearing the backside out of it either. We're talking really about socialising, aren't we? We're not talking about boozing.
No, we're not talking about these binges. Definitely not talking about that. There's just the opportunity to go for the few pints with maybe after the game and leave it like that there. And it's just about creating that environment that there's a connections to be made, and you form a connection with that teammate. And that's one of the things that I'll always have.
Yeah, and again, speaking to former players, that's often the biggest miss, that camaraderie and
exactly.
what have you. It's almost like fellas that come out of the army.
And if you create a sterile environment where you can't do this, you can't do that, and it just becomes a chore, you're not going to make them connections.
All right, okay, we shall see where it goes from here. Eamon, always a pleasure. Thanks so very much.
Thanks, Greg.
Eamon McGee, former inter-county footballer, former club footballer and current columnist there as well. A caller says the enjoyment is taking out of playing now. Years ago, the fellas went for a few pints after most games and had the crack. Nowadays, it's too serious, and it's the same with the women as well. Please, can the person or people in Buncrana that own a dog that's let out frequently in the middle of the night that barks incessantly for hours, please cop on? Do they not hear the dog themselves? There are children and families, those who need their sleep disturbed by this barking echoing over the hills on a regular basis. If it was somebody out shouting every night, the guards would soon be called. Noise pollution and disturbances. Think on, please. And that sounds like someone who perhaps didn't have a fantastic night's sleep there. We had a comment into us which we stuck on our Facebook page, and it read as follows. Hi, I'm so tired of letting cars out of parking spaces or roads and they haven't the manners to put a finger up of thanks or a wee beep or a flash of the hazards. People used to do this. It's like people now expect you to, and people have forgotten with the COVID break how to be nice and civil to each other. No one says hello when out now or look at you strangely if you say hello. So much for friendly Donegal or friendly Irish. Do others feel this way? I don't feel this way, but it doesn't matter what I think. But they say... so then some of the comments coming from this. I let people out and I get a beep, though it's usually from the car behind me, so I then drive extra slow for a bit just to thank them. I get you. I always let cars out, and if they don't give me a thanks in some sort of manner, I'm the worst of a mood all day. Drives me crazy as for people not saying hello anymore. I haven't experienced that. I find people are generally very friendly, but not so much on the road. Manners are easily carried. I just don't get people who would just ignore you doing something nice for them. Now, I love getting let out. But you see, when people do it like that, you know, and they wave their fingers if to say, I'm letting you out now, hurry up. If you're going to be like that, be graceful and offer the palm of your hand and a wave, and that's how we can have our connection. Another caller says, I always wave or beep if someone lets me out, and I let people out too, and they always do the same. People are always looking for the negativity these days. They don't see what this listener is seeing. Another, I always let cats out of spaces of side roads, but if I need out of a space... Oh, sorry, cars, not cats. I always let cars out of spaces or side roads, but if I need out of a space, other drivers aren't so courteous. I have spotted it, and in my head, and I'm not going to say it out loud, I do see, because I often have to say Pullen here at Highland, there is a trend as to who lets you in and who doesn't let you in. I'm working on it. I might reveal it when I have more data. But another listener says, this is something I've noticed. People don't have the decency to let people out sitting for ages or even when crossing a road. It just takes a little common courtesy. It doesn't take much to be a little more kinder. Is there an island, I seem to recall, this could be an urban myth or what have you. Maybe it's Jersey. I don't know, where they don't have traffic lights or anything like that there, and all of the driving is based on courtesy. So it's 1-1-1-1. Do you know what I mean? And the drivers do that themselves. As I say, I heard that a long time ago. I'm not sure if it's a myth or not. Yes, this totally rags me too, says another listener. You wish then you hadn't bothered to let them out. It's just common courtesy to say thanks. Another, absolutely. There's such a sense of entitlement now. Manners are very much lacking. Another couple here. Yeah, and also people would barge through you and not smile, say hello, or gesture to move from one end of the main street to the other. Another, I totally agree. It's not just a Donegal thing either. I normally drive up close behind them if they don't say thanks. A few other agreeing. Why stop? There will come a natural break in traffic. People stopping along a busy main road to let two cars out of a filling station, not worried about the 900 cars behind them they're holding up. There are even polite AHs stopping on roundabouts to let traffic go. Another, yes, feel the same, very sad. And across the socials, people say that, you know, you let someone out, they've lost their manners, they don't say thanks. Let's do it on the radio if that's something you've experienced. 086 60 25,000, 086 60 25,000, or give us a call on 074 91 25,000. Right, we are going to be talking after this break and have a conversation about government plans to fast-track and expand controversial new laws to help quell riots and disorders. It deals with the fallout from last week's violent scenes in Dublin. They're going to bring forward legislation to enable facial recognition technology to quickly prosecute offenders involved in violence and looting. But does that mean it will actually just put people off even going out and peacefully protesting for fear of being screened? There are also issues with this technology because it can have biases. We're going to tease that out and so much more on that after we take these messages.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Simplify your debts with a debt consolidation loan from Letterkenny Credit Union. Call us on 074 910 2126 or apply online via our app or in office today.
Do you think about your legacy and what you want to leave behind? You know, I've had a great life. My childhood was filled with love and support. But not every child is that fortunate. Many face poverty and adversity on a daily basis. So I'm leaving Bernardo's Ireland a gift in my will to pass on the chance of a brighter future to these children. Visit bernardos.ie/pass it on to get involved and make a difference.
Are you worried about trees on your property? Northwest Forestry Services Ballybuffet are fully insured and have over 40 years experience in dangerous tree removal, tree felling, surgery and stump grinding. For peace of mind, call Northwest Forest Services Ballybuffet for a no obligation quotation on 913233.
Maybe you're finally on a date again, 6 months after your divorce. Or maybe you and your better half are wondering whether a cuddle could be more than a cuddle. Or perhaps you'd like to tell a woman you're absolutely mad about that you don't feel like it tonight. There are lots of times and places where we need to say what we want and what we don't want. Whatever the moment, have the consent conversation. A message from the Government of Ireland.
This is Mark from Highland Motors and Letterkenny to let you know about the brand new Citroen C4X available from 29,900 on the road. I only have 30 seconds, so I better get a move on. This car comes with a 5-year warranty and a 3-year service plan with the petrol and diesel versions, and you get a free home charger with the electric version. It has 18-inch alloys, LED headlights, reversing camera, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto.
Hands up, Mark.
To have a look at the new Citroen C4X or to have a test drive, call in to us at Highland Motors and Letterkenny.
An exciting range of Highland events and trips are at your fingertips, and booking a place is now easier than ever on The Outlet at highlandradio.com. The Outlet also has Highland Radio merchandise ready for purchase. Bingo players, order your books through The Outlet and have them delivered to your door. Currently, there's a great selection of concerts and shows to choose from, including Bryan Adams, Michael McIntyre, Sister Act, Wicked and Hamilton. There's also package deals for our concert nights or the ticket-only option, and get details of an amazing country music trip to Spain next September. All this and more by clicking on The Outlet now at highlandradio.com.
Yes, so Justice Minister Helen McEntee is to bring forward legislation to enable facial recognition technology. This to quickly prosecute offenders involved in violence and looting. The use of the technology was initially drawn up to deal with murder, rape, terrorism and child sexual abuse. However, the expanded proposals have been met with resistance, including from her government colleagues in the Green Party who've raised concerns about the use of FRT, but I think they have calmed down a little bit now because it's a separate standalone bill, so the Greens have backed down a little in that regard. OK, so let's have a conversation about this. We'll speak to a former Garda sergeant in a moment, but first Liam Herrick, Executive Director of the Irish Council for Civil Liberties. I mean, some might perceive this as the government not wasting a crisis here to bring forward something that they've been itching to introduce for quite some time now, Liam.
Yeah, surely, Greg, there is a difference between, I think, the Minister and the Department of Justice who want to bring in facial recognition technology for policing and other members of Cabinet who don't. And groups like ourselves who are identifying that there's significant legal, human rights and civil liberties barriers to doing it. One of the key reasons why the government had to drop its proposals for police use of facial recognition technology earlier this year is because it may very well be illegal under European law. And the European Union is currently setting standards around artificial intelligence, which may make this illegal. But I think there's not that much in the announcement this week because, as you say, the position already was that the government was going to bring forward separate new legislation for this to be debated and discussed sometime next year.
I think what's different is that if you want to introduce something, you hang it on an issue that is very emotive in the public eye. Do you know, I don't think the timing can be dismissed here. You go, well, why? Hold on, we don't want shops looted and we don't want violence. So yeah, we're going to back you on this now. It's. I'm not being cynical there. It's as clear as
I think you're right.
Face.
I think you're absolutely right. But in terms of the stages that have to be gone through, they're still the same in that the Department of Justice is only preparing heads of bill at the moment. So that's a memo to go to government to set out its broad intention. And then the government will give them the go-ahead. And then sometime next year, the minister will have to come back to the Justice Committee with some sort of proposal, and they'll go through an examination. So we're talking about something that's still a long way off. And I think all of the legal issues about why this technology is deemed to be controversial, that it's too inaccurate, it's too unreliable, will still be there. So obviously the timing of this week is that the government wants to indicate that it's taking measures to respond to what's a very serious situation. But I think that we're still a long way from having the debate around facial recognition technology before the Oireachtas. And I wouldn't be so sure that this is likely to see the light of day before the next election.
I mean, from what I saw of the coverage at the weekend, the majority of people had their faces covered and they had their hoods down. And then I wonder if this might discourage people to legitimately protest, however you might describe that. So it's mass monitoring, right? So say, for instance, there was a 30-odd thousand people in Donegal marched on the defective concrete blocks issue. Would that discourage 10% of them who don't want to necessarily be marked as a protester, or that it could in some way, infringe on a decision made about them into the future? You know what I mean? I think those are genuine concerns that at least need to be addressed by the powers that be.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're spot on, Greg. I mean, I think there's two real arguments against police use of facial recognition technology in public spaces like this. One is that if you have a situation where everybody is being filmed, being matched against databases, that it's a chilling effect on innocent people taking part in public events and strikes and protests and so on, and even just going about their daily business, the sense that you're being surveilled and observed and tracked in your movements, does change your relationship with the state. The other reason, though, is that the technology doesn't work. And there are serious concerns emerging from the United States and elsewhere that it's too inaccurate and that it's not just glitches in the particular programs, that it's a structural problem in the technology that can't be easily fixed. So even where you have facial recognition systems with large databases, it's shown that they don't perform as well in matching women as they do in matching men, and they don't perform well at all in dealing with people of different skin color.
Is that the racial bias that people talk of?
Yeah, it's a racial bias, but it's not just, I think initially it was understood that this was because the technology was initially trained on disproportionately white faces, so it wasn't as accurate with people from other minorities. But now I think computer scientists in London and elsewhere are saying that actually the technology itself struggles to observe and match people with darker skin pigments than people with lighter skin pigments. It's a structural flaw in the technology itself, which won't be easily fixed. So it leads to miscarriages of justice, but it also means that it's very useless in terms of monitoring large crowds. And as you say, try to link this discussion of facial recognition technology to what happened last week. What happened last week happened on a dark November night. The CCTV cameras in some cases were turned off or were damaged. There was smoke, there was fireworks in the air, and most of the participants involved in the violence were covering their faces. So I think we need to be having a conversation about what happened last week and all of the various serious complex issues about police resources, training, and so on.
Well, you see, that's it.
This is a distraction.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And I'm going to bring Christy Gallagher now in a second. But that's the thing, you see. If there were more guards, say instead of 400, there were 1,200 guards on the streets, they would be able to apprehend people involved in poor activity at that time. But we could sort of say, well, really, if we had facial recognition technology, that would help. It wouldn't, because you would, as you say, you can't see them. So it does feel like a bit of a distraction rather than talking about Garda numbers. Christy Gallagher, former Garda Sergeant, good morning to you.
Good morning to you, Greg.
You're in favour of facial recognition technology.
Well, I see the FRT as just another tool that can be used by the Gardaí in its arsenal of crime prevention and detection. Its purpose under the legislation, and that legislation is quite a way away, as Liam alluded to, was for serious crimes like rape and child abuse, but now retrospective includes violent disorder, like what we saw last Thursday. And it is a retrospective tool for the Gardaí, and it'll be used to parse the information they have, instead of having to sit and look at over thousands of hours of CT phone. It's on its own is not going to solve crime. Let's put that in.
Yeah, but we have to be really
careful.
There are many
other aspects of crime detection,
of course,
including Gardaí will monitor CCTV and phones, and there will be eyewitness accounts, there will be DNA, forensic, all of that. That's all part of it. And a court, let's put it, we go to the court, and a judge and a jury, or a judge on its own, will make a decision whether or not that evidence, beyond a reasonable doubt, is sufficient to warrant a conviction. Nothing about the FRT, and I think there's a lot of scaremongering about FRT. I remember I read an article in relation to the European Parliamentary Research Service that did one on the regulating facial recognition, and it was done in 2021. And one of the things they did say, while there was concerns over the respect for fundamental rights, especially data protection and discrimination, however, the benefits brought by such technology that can actually improve security through more accurate authentication and heightened security are undeniable. But there is an issue, and no one's going to deny the technology is only as good as the algorithm put into it. And we need to get rid of the biases within the system itself. My biggest concern...
So how do you see it being employed then? Okay, so let's just say, for example, it were in place on Thursday, because this has been the catalyst for expediting the whole thing. How do you believe facial recognition technology would have improved policing or the response to those riots on Thursday? Because we can't say, well, maybe it didn't on Thursday, because this is being used as the catalyst to speed things up. So how, from a policing perspective, do you believe it would have improved the situation on Thursday?
I mean, the issue in relation to the information, to pass the information, which I already said that instead of looking at thousands of hours, it takes up a lot of thousands of hours, man hours. Gardaí that should be on the street would be sitting behind a computer or computers, looking at iPhone or technology like that. It's about passing the information after the fact, and it would never be used in a live context. That's wrong. It's never going to be used by and it'll be overseen by a High Court judge, where permission for its use will be required. It's not just willy-nilly.
Do you not feel it's going to lead? Do you not feel that it's going to mean that it's up to an individual, say it were I, that I have to disprove that that's not me? Because it's almost like that when we have FTR, we have FTR and number plates, and I've got random. I got a random fine from not GoSafe, the motorway cameras, whatever they're called again, eFlow, and it took me 3 days to disprove that it wasn't me, that someone had screwed on number plates on a different. I had to prove that.
Again, I just don't think FRT technology on its own will ever prove a case, or will ever prove anything on its own. There are other aspects of Garda investigation, as I said before, in relation to forensics, eyewitness testimony, fingerprinting and all of that, DNA, blood samples, you name it, they will have that as part of their
I'm not a former guard. I'm not a former guard, but if I've got DNA, eyewitnesses, evidence and all this kind of stuff, and then a randomized computer opinion, not randomized, sorry, but a computer's opinion that's my face, I actually don't... Where does that... In the evidence chain, that seems almost irrelevant if you've got all the other stuff that you're talking of.
Absolutely, and as I said, it's only another tool in the arsenal of the Garda Síochána that they're requesting.
But you have not convinced me yet. You haven't... This... I'm coming in this, to be honest with you, whereas I have my concerns about mass of watching of people, whatever the bloody hell the word's called, surveillance, that's it. You're as a former guard, you're not convincing me at all of the actual policing benefit of this.
Well, I mean,
you just keep saying it's a tool in the armour, Christy.
It'll speed up the process of information along with other identifying features and process. It's nothing more than a tool for the Garda to search more effectively. It allows them to separate out images, but they must be satisfied for court purposes beyond a reasonable doubt. You know, it's only an extra tool in the arsenal of the Garda Síochána. I mean, no one wants to see another violent public disorder we saw last Thursday. None of us want to see that. And none of us want to see anybody taking advantage of a terrible incident like that stabbing that happened. No one else wants to see that. I'm sure Liam and everybody will agree with me. Nobody else wants to see that.
But with respect, I don't believe, I can't say just in this moment, as horrific that crime is, how facial recognition technology prevents.
Oh no, but crime. I mean, I'm saying people took advantage of that, and large groups of people came out onto the street. Yes, some people had covered their faces, and there is an inherent difficulty where people cover their faces of trying to identify them.
Okay.
That's part and parcel, unfortunately, of what we see today.
Liam, have you done a 180 in your views now?
Not really, no. I mean, I
want to bring Liam in here just to see.
I looked at the European Parliamentary Research Service.
Okay.
Their report, and they're saying that the EU approach to biometrics, and particularly facial recognition, would rest on a more or less strict legal regime. Mm-hmm. The EU AI approach appears to complement the already applicable strict data protection and non-discrimination rules with a new layer of rules governing the placing on the market of facial recognition technology. So the EU haven't discounted it, but they haven't agreed on its use.
Right. Yeah, I mean, the European Union will be introducing the Artificial Intelligence Act sometime early next year. That will restrict the use of facial recognition technology. It may ban its use in policing completely, or it may restrict it. We don't know exactly yet. So the Irish government can talk whatever way it wants about facial recognition technology at this stage, but it can't determine what would be permissible under European law or not. I suppose the really interesting question here, Greg, is why are we discussing facial recognition technology this week when we probably all agree it's not really that significant an issue with regard to what happened last week? And the reason we're doing that is because the Minister for Justice issued a press release on Saturday night that her first response to what happened last week was going to be changes to the law she'd publish sometime next year. And again, today we're discussing what package of measures the Minister wants to bring to Cabinet, and this is in there. But the real questions, I think, that need to be looked at are the training of guards, because the GRA came out and said their members aren't adequately trained, that they're not clear on the law about how they can use force or not. We have questions about the management and the deployment of resources, especially in a crisis, and the ability to respond when a situation gets worse. And we have the issue of intelligence about far-right extremist groups that have been organising violent events in Dublin for the last year and haven't been dealt with effectively. So
ironically, the greatest
are the real issues, I would say.
Yeah, ironically, the greatest video footage that the Garda actually have to tackle Thursday, citizen journalists who put the camera in all the faces of the people that were involved, or many of the people involved in this. Last word to you then, Christy. Now, we've invited you on to discuss this as a former Guard, but would you then agree with Liam that the more pressing issues are the number of Gardaí, the training of Gardaí, clear guidance on the use of force?
Yeah, absolutely. And I've said it time and time again. There's 138 guards who have resigned so far this year, 100 suspended. Gardaí who are on public order units here in Donegal were put on standby several hours after the incident happened in Dublin. Too late. The intelligence service, I think we should need a separate intelligence service in this country to look at extremism, far right, far left, totally separate from Garda Síochána. I've always advocated that all through my career. I might have got a fair kick in the backside for it, but I always believed in it. And what we should be doing is focus on social media companies whose products and platforms allow extremists to connect, which in turn allow them to spread hate content. That's what we should be focusing on as well. I think that's very important. And the guidelines, they're not following the guidelines, allowing far-right extremists to amplify those misleading or false narratives.
Well, we could have probably another full conversation on that, because no surprise that's also in the headlines right at the moment, because that's seen as the big problem. All right, thanks very much, Christy.
Thank you.
Christy Galligan there. Also, Liam, thanks so much for your time. It's always good to have you on the show. Take care of yourself.
Thanks.
All right, bye-bye. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with a comment from Sinead after these.
The 9 till Noon Show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans now available. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
Employers. Employees love getting benefits and rewards with Clever Cards digital prepaid MasterCards. Employees love that Clever Cards are delivered instantly and can be spent anywhere online or in-store using Apple and Google Pay. Order online from clevercards.com. Clever Cards MasterCards are issued pursuant to Clever Cards interbank agreement with MasterCard and certified by Apple Pay and Google Pay. E-money's accessed with Clever Cards. MasterCards are safeguarded and protected under EU electronic money directives, and the business is regulated for conduct purposes by the Central Bank of Ireland. Terms and conditions apply.
Eat healthy, work smart, be better. I don't listen to any of that. I'm fine the way I am, according to the mammy. And we all know she's never wrong. No, the only thing I'm changing is my broadband provider. You see, National Broadband Ireland is delivering high-speed fibre broadband right to my door. With almost 50 broadband providers using their network, I can decide who I want to connect with. I just need to find the best deal for me. And the mammy, of course. You can find out all about it at nbi.ie. NBI, building a limitless Ireland, supported by the Government of Ireland.
New this week in Home Store and More. All Christmas table linen is half price. But better hurry, because when all our half-price Christmas table linen is gone, it's gone. Also, all Cashel Living giftware and all Christmas tree lights are still all half price. But when all the half-price Cashel Living giftware and all the half-price Christmas tree lights are gone, they're definitely gone. Drop by your local Home Store and More, or visit us online at homestoreandmore.ie. New store now open in Frascati Centre, Blackrock, Dublin. Home Store and More. A happy home.
Stay warm for less this winter with Homeland. Balcas Energy Wood Pellets 10 kg, buy 10 bags, get 1 free. Kiln-dried softwood logs, buy 2 bags for €14. Nationwide delivery available. Shop in store or online at homeland.ie.
With the TFI Go app from Transport for Ireland, paying your bus fare couldn't be easier. Simply buy your ticket on the app, tap to activate, show it to your driver and go. Fares are up to 30% cheaper than cash, and you can save your payment details and favourite journeys for easy future purchases. Download the TFI Go app today and use on participating TFI services, including Bus Éireann, TFI Local Link and Go Ahead Ireland Commuter, as well as participating commercial bus services. Visit transportforireland.ie for terms, conditions and more.
Highland Radio weather updates, brought to you by Grant. From condensing oil and HVO biofuel boilers to heat pumps and underfloor heating, you can trust Grant to heat your home. Visit grant.ie.
Okay, so mist and fog lingering, slow to clear through the morning, leaving a mostly dry day with spells of sunshine and scattered showers. Highest temperatures of 4 to 7 degrees. It's going to get cold tonight though, and it's going to continue cold right through the weekend. Don't have time for a caller just before 10, so we'll come to our callers after 10. Where were the Army last Thursday night? Well, the Army can't be there to sort everything out, and taking the Army, there are issues people would have with that as well. Another caller says the government should look at what is the cause of public unrest instead of putting more restrictions on their rights by issuing cameras to the Garda, for example. The reluctance to condemn Israel for the killing of innocent people, also the murder of a young girl in broad daylight and the killer up for parole in 12 years. They should talk to ordinary people to get some common sense. Another, from what I can see, this riot plays right in the government's hands in convincing people that this legislation is good. It's not. It's deceptive and it's diabolical. We all want criminals caught and prosecuted, but not at the expense of our rights and freedoms. People are again being fooled into totalitarianism. China looking very close to home right now, they say. Right, okay. That was a long debate, so we're going to take a break now for the news and obituary notices. We're back after 10 with the latest appeals and information from An Garda Síochána.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
How many life-changing conversations have you had? For the past 35 years, Hidden Hearing's expert audiologists have been having these conversations every day. They know how to listen, and they have the experience to recommend life-changing hearing solutions, and it's never a one-size-fits-all approach. Fancy a life-changing conversation? Well, they're all ears. To book an appointment for a free hearing consultation today, visit hiddenhearing.ie. Hidden Hearing, your hearing is their expertise.
Ho, 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 ho. Santa Claus speaking.
It's me, Santa, your trusty elf. I've got an urgent message from Cooney's Christmas shop.
Oh, my golly goodness. What's happening at Cooney's?
Well, Santa, they've gone all out this year. Their Christmas decor is bigger and better than ever.
Visit Cooney's Christmas shop, Letterkenny Retail Park, and feel the magic of Christmas. Santa approved.
Hi, Tommy Bow here. Get in store to check out my new 15 Kings clothing collection, available in premium gents outfitters nationwide and at 15kings.com.
The Department of Social Protection is working to improve disability payments in Ireland. There is currently a consultation on how these payments might work better in the future. We want to hear your views on how the system might be improved. To find out more, please visit gov.ie/disability payments reform. A Government of Ireland initiative brought to you by the Department of Social Protection.
Last Christmas, millions in cash prizes were won by people playing the National Lottery's Christmas scratch cards. This year, you could scratch and win up to €100,000 instantly. Play the National Lottery's range of Christmas scratch cards. The National Lottery. It could be them. Gift responsibly.
Letterkenny Summer Sessions with MCD Promotions present the Wolf Tone's 60th year anniversary tour on Saturday the 17th of August 2024, live at the Big Top Marquee, Kiltoy, Letterkenny. 4,500 capacity. Tickets on sale this Friday at 10 a.m. from tickets.ie. Don't miss this huge Northwest farewell concert. For more, follow Summer Sessions on all social media platforms.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, it's Donna Marie Doherty with the news at 10 o'clock. The final working light has broken at the main pier in Burton Port, leaving the fishing community working in the dark. Councillor Micheál Collin McGilla Asbog says once again the fishing community has been neglected. He added that it's a hard-working profession and it's simply unacceptable for there to be total darkness at the pier.
When you're moving from boat to boat to get onto the shore and you're offloading your catch, it's not good enough that we don't have lights that's adequately fitting for what is needed at Alchaharan. It is not acceptable in any shape or form. Yes, the Marine section of the Donegal County Council are working to try to rectify this alongside myself, but the fact is that the fishing community has been neglected, and especially Alchaharan.
A 45-year-old man has been charged to appear before Omagh Magistrates Court today in relation to an incident that occurred in Strabane. He has been charged with the offence of grievous bodily harm with intent. The assault reported to have occurred in Strabane at around 10 to 6 on Sunday evening last in the St Coleman's Drive area of the town. The charge will be reviewed by the Public Prosecution Service. There are calls for dedicated leave to be brought in for women and couples who are undergoing fertility treatment or a miscarriage. The proposals by the Labour Party are due to be discussed in the Seanad tomorrow. The party says couples are forced to use annual leave if they're affected by an early miscarriage or are undergoing reproductive treatment. Labour spokesperson for workers' rights, Senator Marie Sherlock, says dedicated leave is needed.
I suppose anybody who's gone through early miscarriage right up to that point knows the enormous distress that they experience when something like that happens. I suppose the other situation, of course, is fertility leave, and we know that 1 in 6 couples in this country experience infertility, and there are thousands of people every day going through fertility treatments.
Barry Cohen is to run for the European Parliament. He's issued a statement confirming he will be putting his name forward for selection as a candidate. He says now is the right time for him to try and deliver for his Midlands Northwest constituency at a European level. The Justice Minister says she doesn't want Gardaí operating with one eye over their shoulder. Helen McEntee has asked the policing authority to review how much force Gardaí can use when dealing with serious public order incidents following last week's riots in Dublin. She says it will consider what additional equipment and resources are needed. That could include access to the likes of the dog unit, stronger vehicles and non-lethal equipment.
I'm also asking them to look at and to provide clarity when it comes to using force. I do not want members of An Garda Síochána looking over their shoulder, responding to these incidents where they feel that force is necessary. I want them to have the confidence to respond in the way that they deem appropriate.
Donegal County Council has approved works on a number of public projects, including a cycleway which has been described as the first of its kind in the country. The projects are in South Donegal, Letterkenny, Milford and Fanad. Alex Rowley reports.
At the plenary meeting of Council in Lifford yesterday, members approved work on 6 projects in Donegal. One of them, a shared pedestrian and cycle path linking Ballyshannon and Bundoran, was described by Councillor Barry Sweeney as the first cycleway linking 2 towns under an active travel scheme. The construction of 10 two-storey social housing units at Mulroy View, Tamney, was also given the go-ahead. It'll consist of a mix of 1-bedroom apartment units and 2, 3 and 4-bedroom housing units. Members also approved works on the Letterkenny Cultural Corridor, linking on Greenan Theatre, the Regional Cultural Centre and the Donegal County Museum as part of the Letterkenny Connect programme. The green light was also given to improved pedestrian facilities on Killybegs Road, Donegal Town, and Coopers Road off the Market Square in Milford, as well as public artworks at Maracar outside Bundoran.
Looking now to weather, a frosty start today with the lingering mist and fog slowly clearing throughout this morning, leaving a mostly dry day with spells of sunshine and scattered showers. Highest temperatures of 4 to 7 degrees in a light variable wind. That's all from now on Highland Radio News. The next news update is at 11 o'clock. In the meantime, keep up to date with the latest local news on our website, highlandradio.com. From myself and the news team, good morning. The obituary notices this Tuesday morning, November 28th. The death has taken place of Jim Campbell, the close refoe. His remains will repose at his home today and tomorrow. Funeral leaving there on Thursday at 1:30 for 2 p.m. funeral service in Carnone Presbyterian Church, followed by burial in the adjoining graveyard. Family time please from 10 p.m. to 11 a.m. and on the morning of the funeral. Family flowers only. Donations in lieu to the Carnone Presbyterian Church, care of any family member or Terence McClintock, funeral director. The death has occurred of Gladys Carr, Nee McKiernan, Moros, Tamney Fanad. Her remains will repose at her late residence. Removal from there tomorrow at 1:20, going to Fanet Presbyterian Church, Kerrykeel for 2 p.m. funeral service, with burial afterwards in Rossnakill Cemetery. Family flowers only. Donations in lieu of flowers to the Oncology Day service at Letterkenny University Hospital and the Kerrykeel Girls Brigade, care of any family member or McAteer funeral directors. The service will be streamed live on the McAteer Funeral Directors Facebook page. The death has taken place of Peggy McGuinness, Nee McElroy, 116 Yerney Road, Clady, and formerly of Lower Main Street, Strabane. Reposing at Quigley's funeral home today from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. Funeral leaving the home tomorrow at 6 p.m, going to St Mary's Church, Melmount for Requiem Mass on Thursday at 10 a.m. Interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Requiem Mass can be viewed live via the parish webcam. The death has taken place of Kitty Devaney, Nee Macklehill, 1 McCrae Park, Drumquin. Her remains are reposing at her late residence. Funeral tomorrow at 11 a.m. in St Patrick's Church, Langfield, Drumquin. Interment afterwards in the adjoining graveyard. The Requiem Mass can be viewed live on the parish webcam. Family flowers only. The death has taken place of Katie Kearney, Carramore Glen Toher, Carndonna. Remains are reposing at her home. Funeral leaving there on Thursday at 10:15, going to the Church of the Sacred Heart, Carndonna, for Requiem Mass at 11 a.m, with interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Funeral Mass can be viewed live on churchmedia.tv. The death has occurred of Moya Kirkpatrick, Nee O'Donnell, Wera Veg Dominic, Mahara Boy Road, Carrickmacross, County Monaghan, and formerly of Middletown Gweedore, County Donegal. Reposing at Derry's funeral home, Carrickmacross, this afternoon from 4 p.m. until 7 p.m. Removal tomorrow morning from her residence on foot via the bridge to St Joseph's Church, Carrickmacross, arriving for Requiem Mass at 11 a.m. Burial afterwards in St Joseph's Cemetery, Carrickmacross. House private please. Family flowers only. Donations in lieu of flowers to Carrick Cancer. Directly online or via the donation box, care of Derry's Funeral Directors, Carrickmacross. Moya's Requiem Mass can be viewed via St Joseph's webcam facilities. The death has occurred of Paddy McKinney, Graffy Castle Finn, reposing at the home of his son and daughter-in-law Noel and Julie McKinney, Graffy Castle Finn. Funeral from there tomorrow at 11:30 a.m. for Requiem Mass at 12 noon in St Columba's Church, Donnyloop. Interment afterwards in the adjoining churchyard. The death has occurred of Eileen Gallagher, ní McGlinchey, Donegal Road, Ballybuffet. Remains are reposing at her late residence. Funeral leaving from there tomorrow at 10:30 for Requiem Mass at 11 a.m. in the Church of Mary Immaculate, Stranorlar. Interment in Drumbo Cemetery. Requiem Mass will be streamed live via churchservices.tv. Family time from 10 p.m. and before the funeral tomorrow. The death has taken place in Hollingburn, Kent, England, of Bridget McClune, ní Walsh, formerly of Derry Rush, Rossmuck, Connemara, County Galway, resided in Catford, London and surrounding areas for over 50 years. Late husband of Paddy McClune, Rossbeg, County Donegal. Her remains will repose at Shuvlin's Funeral Home Sandfield this evening from 6 p.m. until 8 p.m. Funeral from there tomorrow morning at 10:30 a.m. to St Connell's Church, Kilclooney, for 11 a.m. Requiem Mass, with burial afterward in the adjoining cemetery. Bridget's funeral mass can be viewed live on Shuvlin's Funeral Home Facebook page. The death has taken place of Kathleen Gilday, ní Shuvlin, Monargan, Ardra, Donegal. Her remains will repose at Shuvlin's Funeral Home this evening from 3 p.m. to 5:30 p.m, followed by removal to the Church of the Holy Family, Ardra, arriving at 6 o'clock. Funeral Mass tomorrow afternoon at 1 p.m, followed by burial in the adjoining cemetery. For family information and more details regarding wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
The Department of Social Protection is working to improve disability payments in Ireland. There is currently a consultation on how these payments might work better in the future. We want to hear your views on how the system might be improved. To find out more, please visit gov.ie/disability payments reform. A Government of Ireland initiative brought to you by the Department of Social Protection.
All right, you're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show. Just to remind you, you can watch the programme if you wish. You can go on to our YouTube channel, Highland Radio Ireland, or our Facebook pages. Good morning to Dahi, Charlie, Marie, the Aussie Outlaw, Beth, and all the rest of you who are watching the show. We appreciate it. It's good to have you on board. You can watch us on your smart TV. Most TVs are smart nowadays, the new ones anyway. The YouTube app's pre-built into it, your Fire Stick, or any of your mobile devices. Okay, let's get to some of your comments. Just to remind you, of course, coming up very shortly, we have Community Garda information. But first, the new hate speech laws, coupled with the proposed facial recognition technology and the proposed programmable digital currency, are all steps in the erosion of citizens' civil rights, particularly the right to protest. They are key steps towards the Chinese social credit score system, which suits governments to control citizens and corporations to influence spending behaviour. All these proposals should be objected to by the population. I wouldn't go all the way down that road with you, but I appreciate your comment. How can you argue for technology that is not accurate? Imagine how inaccurate for it would influence the course of an investigation. That's coming from Martin there. Good morning, Greg. Again, no word about the migrant who stabbed the kids or about immigration. Well, this is not... We were talking about facial recognition technology, which we've been talking about for an awful long time. We've given health updates on the child and its carer, who was still in a very serious condition in hospital, and he's been here. I'm not going to split hairs with you, but he's not a migrant as such. He was a migrant. He's now I think I misspoke on Friday and referred to him as an Irish national when obviously I meant Irish citizen, so apologies for that. But anyway, cameras that only pick out the Irish, not people of colour, is the answer. The Guards battered people on Thursday night. Talk about heavy-handed, and they're the ones saying they don't know what the laws are. Will there be claims for the people who were battered? Well, that's why Gardaí are reluctant to batter, to use force with people for fear of action being taken against them. I absolutely hate reality TV. Refuse to watch it now. Imagine living your life as an episode of Big Brother. Everywhere you go, everything you do, everything you buy, we are already partway there with our online banking and push for cashless society. Complete loss of freedoms, but sadly the younger generation do not exactly realise what's at stake, which is a fair comment, perhaps. This didn't work in Britain. This is to do with controlling and tracking people. It didn't stop any attacks or improve safety, but if you can scare people, you can control them. My deceased dad used to say, idle hands make work for the devil. Why doesn't the government open free sports centres or other pastimes with an education element to it for those angry young people instead of facial recognition technology? Another, seems if you speak out or go on a peaceful protest, we're all going to be called far right. And on it goes. Thanks for all of these comments coming in, by the way. I hate cars beeping because they're not happy with the driver in front, or beeping when they see friends. I hate it. Good morning, Greg and listeners. I'm a parent with young children. I feel there's no stop and start to the club underage Gaelic football now. The children need a clean, long break away from everything to recharge and come back refreshed. I believe all sports are a great way for young people to express themselves, wherever that is. The game should be based on quality, not quantity, with acts of sports personship at its core value. Thank you. Right, okay, let me see. We'll stick with the GEA for now. I fully agree with Eamon. Another, if I was playing busting a gut while a teammate burns the candle at both ends and it affected him or her, I certainly wouldn't be happy. Doubt if Eamon McGee would. There's a balance, though, to be struck, of course, and you have to trust the players to make their own decisions, don't you, rather than try and legislate for their private lives. Maybe one rule, they want to bring in drug testing in GEA like other sports, might get a big shock, sadly. Back to courtesy on the roads here. Hi, Greg. Re-courtesy on the roads. Can you imagine how people here would get on if the same laws applied in towns and villages as they do in Germany, where cars coming out from a side road have the right of way, do they? Okay. Greg, yes, it is Jersey. I've driven all through the wee island, and that's the system. Everyone has to let at least one other driver out. Coming in from Mary. Thank you, Mary. I really appreciate that. I just had it in the back of my head and it popped forward, and you've confirmed what I had read previously. I always let cars out and pull in to let traffic past, and the only people that will give you a wave or a flash to the indicators are Northern Ireland drivers, and this is coming from a Donegal man. All right, okay. Those children's stats are so terrifying. What are the Garda, Tusla and Irish society doing to reduce them? I agree with you. We should all be doing so much more. It's live right now. 120,000 calls in a year from children who are facing the most awful of situations, and it's been happening historically, and it's happening as we speak. On sports commentary, this caller says, good morning, Greg. Forget about VAR. It's female commentators that put me off. They just haven't got it. They haven't a clue. They try, but that's it. Do you agree or disagree? I mean, it's not a comment on gender here as such, but I think what listeners or viewers prefer perhaps maybe if the person has played the sport, for an example, like women footballers commenting on the men's football game. Are you okay with that? Do you enjoy it? I have no problem with it, to be honest with you. Say, for instance, I don't watch much Premiership, but say, for instance, with the Women's World Cup, the Women's European Championships, I didn't really notice whether or not it was a fella or a woman. The same with boxing. If there's a female boxer, often they have a female co-commentator. It doesn't bother me at all. But it seems to be, I've read that people watching, it seems particularly football, don't seem to like a woman commentating on the male game. I'm not saying that's the case with me because I don't watch enough of it really to care. I watch a fair bit, but I don't really pay much attention to the commentary, and I certainly don't watch the analysis. I just watch the game itself. But do you have an issue with female commentators commentating on men's sports, or men commentators commenting on female sports? Let us know. The telephone line to do that, the text line, in fact, is 086 60 25,000. WhatsApps and texts 086 60 25,000. Or give us a call on 07491 25,000. The sort of different genders commentating on different sports, anything in that area. Is that something that bothers you, annoys you, or something you have a concern on? Not a concern. It's not life and death, isn't it? It's only a bit of commentary. But anyway, right, let's take a break. Garda Gráinne Doherty is going to be joining me, where you'll hear for the first time the latest news and appeals and information from An Garda Síochána. That's coming right up.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio.
It's time for NCBI Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Tuesday, the 28th of November. You're playing on the brown sheet. The reference number is S17. It's game number 48. The numbers are 73, 27, 57, 45, 43, 12, 14, 76, 70, and finally 66. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your NCBI bingo information at highlandradio.com.
Do you need a UK address? Save hundreds of euros on custom charges shopping online with Space Hub Dairy. We provide a full virtual address mailbox service for all your business and personal use. Save hundreds, possibly thousands on custom charges with Space Hub Dairy. Call 048 71 87 8077 or online spacehubdairy.com for more details.
At PTSB, we know our customers' needs are evolving, so we're evolving too, by bringing the best of technology and people together. Every interaction, every innovation, and every connection is built upon a better understanding of you. And it all comes together to create a banking experience that's altogether more human. PTSB, altogether more human. Permanent TSB PLC trading as PTSB is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Is your health worrying you? Have you less energy, feeling tired or run down? Letterkenny Medics offer cardiac screening that includes blood pressure and heart rate measurement with an option of a 24-hour monitor assessment, which will evaluate your heart health over a 24-hour period by tracking your heart's activity. Looking after your health is essential. Give yourself peace of mind by booking an immediate appointment today at letterkennymedics.ie or call 07492 02955. Letterkenny Medics. We listen if you want to talk.
The 9 till Noon Show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from 40,000 to 600,000 euro with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127. The Community Garda information slot is brought to you by Sheridan Security Systems, protecting what you value most. Call today and get your zero-wire alarm system from €299. Sheridan Security, 91260025.
Okay, you're welcome back to the programme. It's 22 minutes past 10 on this Tuesday, the 28th of November. It's time for Community Garda information, and we're joined in studio now by Garda Grania Doherty from the Letterkenny Garda station. Thanks so much for calling up to us, Grania.
Thanks for having me, Greg.
No, it's good to have you up. Now, let's get straight into the appeals, and we'll begin, will we, with a burglary in Letterkenny.
Yes, this burglary happened in Parkview Drive in the area of Garthley, Letterkenny. Happened between the 3 p.m. on Saturday the 25th of November and 6:30 p.m. on Sunday the 26th of November. A window to the rear of the property was smashed, entry was gained to the house. A number of items were taken, a mobile phone, a number of packets of cigarettes were stolen also. We're appealing to anybody who may have observed any suspicious activity in that area, the area of Parkview Drive, to contact Garda in Letterkenny on 9167100. The Garda confidential line, as always, for all of our appeals may be reached on 1800 666 111.
Now, appeal also now in relation to criminal damage in Newtown Cunningham.
Yes, this happened in the area of Monfad in Newtown Cunningham in the early hours of Tuesday the 21st November in and around 3am to 3:05am. So a resident in that area, they were in their bed, they heard their dogs barking, they then heard footsteps on the gravel outside, and then they heard quite a loud bang. So upon a further investigation, they went down, they discovered that one of the front tyres of their van had been slashed. They checked around the property, nothing appeared to have been stolen from the property. So we're appealing to anybody who may have travelled in that area in the early hours of last Tuesday morning, around that time, so between 3 and 3:05am, to make contact with Gardaí if they observed any suspicious activity, vehicles in the area or people on foot in the area. Maybe there might have been a taxi driver, so I suppose that's really the usual traffic that would be out at that hour of the morning, and they usually would have a dash cam. So if anybody like that was in the area with a dash cam, we would ask them to contact us in Letterkenny on 9167100.
All right, an unusual theft now from just outside Lahey.
Yeah, so this is an Indispension, that's the make, of this. It's a triaxle tilt bed car transporter. It was stolen from Dramanis Glebe in Leahy, so it was parked up in a yard just along the N15. It was stolen between 4 p.m. on Thursday the 23rd November and 10 a.m. on Saturday the 25th of November. We have a picture up of this transporter on our Garda Síochána Donegal Facebook page for people to see there. The word indispension.com, that's to be seen clearly across the rear tailboard of the trailer. So we're just asking, look, if anybody has any relevant information in relation to the theft of the trailer or in relation to its current location, we're asking them to contact Garda in Ballyshannon on 071 985 8530, and as always the Garda confidential line either may be used.
Yep, of course. Now, Garda in Inishowen investigating incident in a car park there at St Mary's.
Yeah, so somebody parked their car up in St Mary's car park in Buncrana. It was quite a short time period, this one, so between 1:20 p.m. and 2:30 p.m. on Thursday the 23rd November. The car was parked up, and during that short time frame the Vauxhall logo was stolen, removed from the grille, forcibly removed. Damage was caused to the grille of the car then as a result. So we're just asking if anybody was in that area, if they've seen anything that might assist with this investigation. We're asking them to contact Garda in Buncrana on 9320540.
Yeah, if you saw it, you'd remember it, I'd imagine, someone at that activity.
Of course, yeah.
Road traffic collision being investigated now in Newtown Cunningham.
Yeah, this collision happened in the townland of Tunny Havoc in Newtown Cunningham. This happened on Wednesday the 22nd of November in around 5:20 p.m. So a driver, they had been driving from Derry actually. They were travelling along the R237 and they came to a stop upon reaching the junction. They were going to enter onto the N13. A car, which has been described as being blue in colour and possibly a Volkswagen, collided with the rear of their car as they had come to a stop. The driver then of this blue Volkswagen, they didn't remain at the scene. They travelled onwards onto the N13, turned right, headed on in the direction of Burt Bridge End. So we're appealing to anybody who may have travelled on the N13 between Bridgend and Newtown Cunningham on that date between 5:15 p.m. and 5:30 p.m. who had a dash cam in particular. We're appealing to those motorists to make that footage available to Garda in Letterkenny.
All right, a couple of theft from vehicles in the Ballybofey area now.
Yeah, so this a couple of recent thefts. These occurred very neighbouring townlands actually, Glencovet and Knock and Ballybofey. So a van was parked at an address in Glencovet. It was broken into between 4 p.m. on Sunday past there, the 26th of November, and 6:30 a.m. on Monday the 27th. Entry was gained to this van. No damage was caused to the van. A number of tools were stolen from the van, namely a Milwaukee battery grease gun, a Milwaukee cordless drill, a Milwaukee half-inch rattle gun, a tool bag containing sockets, 2 backhoe socket sets, and then there was this very distinctive and unique Zebra industrial style tablet. It had a hard case, and this tablet in particular should stand out. You know, if anybody's offered it for sale or if they come across it, you know, for sale in a second-hand basis.
Sounds like someone's ability to make a living there was taken from them, at least in the short term.
Of course, yeah. A lot of their work gear was stolen from them. I believe there was another few items as well, smaller items of tools stolen. The van was cleared out, you know, and that's devastating. Of course, somebody's out there trying to make a living using these tools, and it's a devastating thing to wake up to find that your livelihood's been impacted so badly, you know. Another break-in as well. So this townland, these two areas are very close together. Knock, Ballybofey. So a car was parked up at a house at Knock, Ballybofey. It was also broken into between the same dates, between 9 p.m. on Sunday the 26th of November and 7 a.m. on Monday the 27th of November. This car was unlocked and entry was gained to it. A beige MK purse containing bank cards and cash were stolen from the car. We're appealing this morning really to residents in Glencovet and Ballybofey, I have there, and Knock, Ballybofey, I should have said, to check around their property. You know, check garden sheds. Maybe you have a vehicle parked up that you haven't been in or you haven't used in a few days. Check it, just make sure that nothing was stolen from it. Go out and check your garden shed if it was left unlocked. Quite expensive items are kept, as you know, in sheds, you know, and just check around your property to see was anything stolen from your property, and please alert Gardaí immediately if you do discover that something was taken, because obviously there was some sort of activity going on overnight that night in that area, and opportunist thieves may have been I presume
from house to house. They possibly could have been.
Well, I would imagine they didn't just go to these two properties and strike it lucky, you know, so I'd say that they tried numerous properties. So we're asking everybody, please check around your own property and ensure that nothing was stolen, and let us know if it was. And if anybody observed any suspicious activity in these areas overnight on Sunday night into Monday morning, please contact us in Letterkenny on 9167100. And of course, it goes without saying, if anybody is offered any of these tools for sale or that Zebra industrial style tablet, please contact us also. And the Garda confidential line may be contacted again on 1800 666 111.
And it's important for people to know that, and we've had updates in the past, that any information is very, very useful, because obviously the way it works, in that, you know, an investigation is ongoing, maybe someone's arrested and charged, we don't always get updates on it. But these aren't just appeals that are chucked out there and then lie idly as such. I mean, they're all part of an ongoing investigation with a lot of success in many of these cases as well.
Of course, and somebody in that area may have seen something, thought nothing of it at the time. Still, maybe this morning they're listening to this, they're still thinking nothing of it, but they thought it might have been a bit odd. Just let us know. You know, it could be something that could be massive. You know, it could be a massive part that we need to put the pieces together as part of this investigation. You know, even if you observed a car that you didn't see in the area before, even you caught the first few digits of the registration number or colour of the car, just let us know. Any wee piece of information to us can prove to be invaluable in these cases.
Sure. All right, let's talk a little bit about Operation Thor.
Yeah, Operation Thor. So this was established 8 years ago to target burglars. So the winter phase has been underway since October 1st, and this year we're hoping to continue to reduce the number of burglaries taking place, including those in people's homes. So as part of Operation Thor, checkpoints and patrols take place throughout the winter, during the day and all throughout the night. Intelligence is gathered in relation to known offenders, and we're regularly issuing crime prevention advice. You know, Sergeant Wallace there and ourselves in the community policing unit, we call out to groups, we issue crime prevention advice, and of course here on the radio and on our social media. So we're asking the community really to help us, help us target these burglars by following a few simple steps to protect their home over the winter months, because this is a time when burglaries tend to rise. The rates of burglaries go up in the winter time, unfortunately. So our advice is, please turn on some lights, and the LED bulbs can be more energy efficient. The times that are in it, we're all trying to save money, so the LED bulbs may be more energy efficient. Use timer switches, motion detectors, lock your doors and windows. I think we're all guilty of that at times. We nip out or we nip next door, and we think we'll be back in a few minutes, sure what's going to happen, and these people, they're in and out, and they can be in and out in 2 minutes.
Yeah.
They're gone.
Good at what they do.
They lift cash, something handy, just they're gone, Use a house alarm, store keys away from windows. Don't keep large amounts of cash or jewellery in the house. Now, and of course, look, if somebody has a large amount of jewellery, just get a safe, get a good safe, invest in a safe, make sure that it's well secured to a wall in the house.
It's also good to log all of that stuff as well, isn't it? Take pictures of it in case, God forbid, you are broken into, because often you find when people have been the victim of that type of crime, it can be a couple of weeks later before they realise a particular item's also missing as well. So you don't want to prepare for a robbery, but it's good, I think, to have a visual representation of your valuable goods.
It is. Photograph them, and items, jot down model numbers, IMEI numbers of phones, things like that. And there is a property app that was developed and it's available it's a Garda property app on the Play Store there. Even look, if you're not tech savvy and you don't know how to download this app, take note of it in your own house. Take photos of expensive items. Maybe on the back of the photo, jot down the model number of the item, but keep a record, because it can be very useful to us also, should the worst happen and your items are stolen.
But often a lot of this stuff turns up then, you see, be it push bikes or what have you. The guards do, and it can turn up down the country as well. They do end up, cracking a case or whatever, and finding stolen items, and then the struggle is getting them back to the rightful owners.
Of course, yeah.
You talked about how sometimes we neglect to lock our houses, windows and doors. I think we're probably more guilty of outhouses and sheds not being secured or not being monitored.
Yeah, and I think this was mentioned last week, in relation to sheds, that it's equally as important to lock your shed, because even with the expensive items in your shed, ride-on mowers, power tools, whatever you store in your shed, but besides that, somebody can gain entry to your shed. If your shed's left unlocked, they have ladders, they have all sorts of tools that can enable them then to gain access into your home. So please lock your shed, lock up your car. If your car's parked in your driveway, the same thing. Look, if it's parked down the town, the same advice applies. Don't keep large amounts of cash or valuables in it. Lock it up, ensure it's secure, bleep it there and give it a lock up before you go to bed. And the same, make sure your shed's locked before you go to bed. Don't keep large amounts of cash or jewellery in the house. We've mentioned that one. And I think it's just important to be vigilant, in your neighbourhood, to watch out for neighbours, especially if you have any neighbours who are elderly or vulnerable and you're aware that they're living on their own alone. Just keep an eye out for them, and back in the olden days, I think maybe people were a lot better at this, and now you might be people have a fear of being viewed as being nosy, if they're watching their neighbours.
The truth is, and I heard Superintendent Kelly reference, I think we're actually more inclined now. You talked about as a part of operation for daytime, nighttime checkpoints and all, and people always think it's trying to do someone for a month out of date tax or whatever it might be. But a lot of those are for operational purposes as part of Operation Thor. And I think rather than actually keeping an eye out for suspicious vehicles, many people now are more inclined to warn people of where the Gardaí are. You know, we've really shifted here from keeping an eye out to sort of trying to evade or to disrupt the work of the police. Do you know what I mean? And I get that, and I think sometimes people don't maybe perhaps realise that's what they're doing.
Well, I think people maybe think they're doing a good turn for their neighbours and friends, and they're trying to save them a few bob in case they get a fine, you know, and that, I suppose, look, that's human nature, and while it's not right, I think sometimes people don't realise that, as you said, a lot of these checkpoints are for crime prevention purposes, you know, for intelligence gathering, you know, for reasons like that. And
we always hear stolen property or materials in a car that might be used for breaking and entry or drugs in a vehicle. I mean, often they are picked up on these random checkpoints that I hear there and everywhere.
They are, of course, yeah. And as well as that, you know, by posting on social media, and you do often see that, you know, checkpoint at whatever location, and they're warning their friends and whoever their Facebook friends are, and they can be doing a lot more harm than good, you know. And the reason for these checkpoints is just not always. Sometimes it is to check your tax and insurance, of course, but as you said, sometimes as part of Operation Thor, these checkpoints are for intelligence gathering purposes. You know, who's in the car, who's travelling with them. You know, maybe a search of the car could be conducted, and by warning people that these checkpoints are taking place, you are really doing a lot of harm to your local community, you know.
Check My Link is a new facility that's out there. Now, I actually think this is more important in making people think about links rather than actually checking them, because really, if the truth be told, unless it's like highlandradio.com or rte.ie, it says be careful here, potentially. Do you know what I mean? So I think its greatest function is to get us to think about checking links rather than necessarily the information it might provide. That's not to do with a disservice or whatever. But anyway, it's there, it's free. Give us a bit more info.
Yeah, I think now coming up to Christmas too, I don't know about you, do you do any online shopping? But I know I'm a devil for it. I'm steady online shopping, as it's.
You were actually telling me before we came on air that you have everything done for Christmas.
I do.
You've all your shopping
I've
done.
all my shopping done.
Christmas decorations up.
I don't have I didn't go that far yet. The 1st of December. I draw the line now. Before December, it doesn't happen.
You seem a traditionalist. We don't wait till the 8th.
Well, I might. I just might wait till the 8th. That gives me more time to relax again.
But anyway, no, I think I think I do the majority of my shopping in person. But I always find there's stuff I want that I can't necessarily get locally. So it's a blend. So I do some online shopping.
Well, I think there's just so many new websites popping up now that seem to be offering too good to be true deals, you know, online, and we've all seen them online, and it's very tempting when times are tight for people and they're trying to save everywhere they can, you know, and it is tempting times to.
And it's a mixture of either a scam or crap quality stuff. A lot of these are drop shop type of outlets. You'll see the links on Twitter and Facebook and elsewhere, where the item is like, you know, an electric bike for $59.99 or something stupid like that. There, you'll get something for your money, and they won't necessarily clean out your account, but you have to be careful of the quality of the stuff that you're purchasing, as well as giving your details to an organisation you can't trust.
Yeah, well, look, this I went into this other evening to check it out. Actually, I put in 5 or 6 different websites just to check. Did you try it out as well? I know. I went through my
SMSs, you know, and all of the spam messages.
Yeah, to check them out.
As if I needed to paste in on.post.robbery.yourdone.com. But I still checked it.
They were all legitimate sites I was checking too, when I should have been putting up my tree probably. But anyway, this is a free online service. It's designed to prevent shoppers from being scammed. So it's Check My Link. This is a security tool. It was built by Munster Technological University Cyberskills in collaboration with Scam Advisor and Garda Síochána and other partners. So shoppers are being advised to be vigilant while shopping online in the run-up to Christmas, and always, not just in the run-up to Christmas. So this service is easy to use. It'll help you determine whether a website is likely to be legitimate or a scam. So it's just useful to have a way to check that this website that you're buying from is authentic and that it's not infected with malware. You simply type in the address of the website that you want to check, and your results will appear within seconds. So the site can be accessed at www.checkmylink.ie.
Yep, so it's kind of trustworthy, dubious, don't go there, but it makes you think, and that's why I think it's useful. Talking about being safe and being seen, and this is not to in any way attribute blame or to call people out, but I was driving to work this morning, pitch black, and the school bus runs had started, and a school bus pulled into the left, hazard lights on, and then 2 or 3 young ones ran from the far side of the road in all black. And there was oncoming cars and lights, and they were invisible, Granny. They were literally invisible, and I just thought if someone could have been impatient and saw that the traffic lights and gone around, you know, not thinking that kids would cross the bus to cross the other side of the road. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it just put me in mind of a high vis or something along those lines would have been really useful there. But that's just one example of one thing I saw today, and it makes you think, oh, you know what, no one done any harm and didn't think, but it really appeared really quite dangerous to me. But you have an appeal now for pedestrians, cyclists, general road users as well, Grania.
I do, and actually I was travelling home from work myself this night in through the town, and a man crossed from a shop, an elderly man. He was crossing over to the other side, and as you said, just totally black clothing. That was within the town. It was well lit. I still had trouble seeing him, to be honest now. So if that had been out in a country road, you can imagine you definitely wouldn't have had a clue that person was there. So we're just continuing to urge all pedestrians, cyclists to ensure that they can be seen clearly when you're out in the road. Remember, when you're out walking, cycling or running, that you can see the traffic. The traffic, you know, the cars are well lit up, but the driver might not always see you. Put on a high vis or some high visibility armbands, you know, carry a torch with you maybe. It makes all the difference. You know, even something so simple as
Well, most people have a torch in their pocket now.
They do, yeah. On the phone has a torch. But even times you would see school children there, and they might have a reflective. I know the RSA do them. You know, the wee reflective teddy bear, even something like that hanging from their bag. You can catch the glimpse of it. You still see it. So something even so small makes a big difference. So, and cyclists, please make sure that your bicycle lights are working before going for a cycle. There was a problem there for a while. I know people were having trouble accessing or getting their hands on high vis gear. So we've managed to get a few box loads of high vis vests for adults and children, and they're at Letterkenny Station. So if anybody wants to call in, they're more than welcome to call in to collect one.
All right, brilliant stuff, Grania. As always, thank you so very much indeed. That's Grania Doherty there, Garda Grania Doherty from the Letterkenny Garda Station. Now you can listen back to that item if you missed the start of it on our podcast, and it'll be available for you to watch as well on ours and on Garda Síochána and the Donegal's Facebook pages a little later on. Back live with you after the news at 10 next Tuesday. Grania, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com. The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Seasonal loans now available for Christmas. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
Is minic éin éfachtaí fáibanna féchas fersanta haar chórsaí airgid a siobháin. Is éit a rudí nach mínling aige hórtstorgo a déach a bheith in a gúis len ar mea. Gwylyn stros earth, tein cadrib in olcus. Déach se moho go bhfuil an sélig titimas a chéile, ach tá cabhar ar fáil. Fáir eisiau an móthir le service doch bhíneachta na héireann, agréad nábsblach a chawríonn le fáibanna féchas fersanta a réitach. Feich backandtrack.ie le takeíocht ó réaltas na héireann.
Please support the St. Vincent de Paul annual appeal. Donate today at svp.ie or call 0818 176 176. Thank you.
Are you in need of treatment or on the HSE waiting list? Come along to our cross-border healthcare information drop-in clinic on Monday, the 4th of December at Mount Errigal Hotel, Letterkenny. Our cross-border team will be there from 10 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. to assist with all your queries and even book you in for an initial consultation at Kingsbridge Private Hospital in Ballykelly or Belfast. Why wait? Email businessrelations@kingsbridgehealthcaregroup.com for further information.
If you're doing some shopping today and fancy taking the weight off your feet or forgetting about having to cook when you get home, take a seat at Kelly's award-winning diner in Letterkenny and select from a menu that's packed with great value, family favourite choices. Relax over a coffee and sandwich, maybe a bite of lunch, something for dinner or a treat from the dessert menu. Great food and great service every day at Kelly's Diner, Mountaintop, Letterkenny.
Attention farmers, Alt Nurseries Altupper Castlefin are Department of Agriculture approved and can supply plant passports for your acre scheme. Thorn hedging, tree whips, shelters, hedging, plastic and native Irish apple trees are all available. Also stocking a large range of bare root, potted hedging trees, shrubs and much more. For the best quality at the keenest prices, call Gail at Alt Nurseries Castlefin on 086 306 7346.
It's time to give your favourite hotel the recognition they deserve.
Nominate now for the Highland Radio Hospitality Award at highlandradio.com. Hurry! Let's celebrate excellence together. Nominations close on December 13th. Okay, so there is a big conversation going on now about equipping the Gardaí or the state with more powers, facial recognition technology, though we had the Irish Council for Civil Liberties questioning whether the EU will approve that or indeed if it will move as quickly as some might want it to. But anyway, Eamon O'Hara joins us for comment on this. Good morning, Eamon, on this, I suppose, policing more generally. How are you keeping?
It's not too bad, Greg. Yes, not too bad. Yes, Greg. I suppose I'm more with regard to policing. It's got to do with the subject of abortion that I'm really the issue I really want to bring up.
That's all right. Go ahead then.
Yourself. Yeah. Basically, just for your viewers, and I'm sure yourself too will be maybe aware of this. Maybe you're not. I'm not sure. But roughly about 2 weeks ago, there was a bill brought in through the Dáil which passed by maybe over 100 votes, hundreds in favour, maybe 10 against, sort of a thing, in relation to pro-life protests. Now, basically what it is, it's called the Safe Access Zone Bill. So basically what it is the plan with this bill is to criminalise any pro-life protest taking place within 100 metres of any facility that carries out abortions, you know. Now, I'm talking about peaceful protests that are within the law. Now, when this was at a active stage, the Garda Commissioner, Drew Harris, was asked for his, expertise in the area with policing. And basically what he had said was that if any public order offences took place outside any of these, facilities, that existing public order legislation is sufficient to deal with any issue that may arise. Now, so my issue would be, to date, to my own knowledge, I haven't heard of any issues arising, and I've definitely heard of none going through the courts because, it would have received quite a lot of media attention, you know. So my point is this sort of bill is very discriminatory because it criminalises pro-life protesters who are peaceful protesters. They're acting within the law.
So, Eamon,
as it is,
you protest outside one of these facilities, what's the aim of the protest? Because whether people like it or not, a vote was taken and people were given the right to this type of healthcare in inverted commas. Now, put it in inverted commas because some would say, well, it's not healthcare, and I don't want to get in. I don't want to. I know, but I don't want. With that has been well discussed in advance of it. But anyway,
I know what you're saying.
What would the function of protesting directly outside one of these facilities be? What's the aim? What would one hope to achieve?
First of all, yes. Well, the function is, within law, everybody has a right to peaceful assembly and peaceful protest, no matter what the issue is, But my point is this criminalises only one somebody protesting on a certain issue. Just give you an example, topically at the minute. Now, I'm not taking sides on this, it's just to compare like for like. There's a lot of protests at the minute protesting against Israel because pro-Palestinian, support. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, and that's everybody's right. But I wouldn't. I think everybody, no matter what the issue is, should have the right to peaceful protest.
I get you that, but I want to understand. I get you, but I have to understand it because you see, for someone who I presume it's a very difficult decision to make. They've made that decision, and I'm sure too for the medical professionals. They feel that they have to do this. Some don't. It's there anyway. But what I'm trying to ascertain is what is the function of a protest directly outside a facility that facilitates abortion?
Yes. Well, first of all, as I said before, everybody has the right to peaceful protest.
No, I get that, and I get that. I understand that.
Yeah. But generally, anybody. If you're protesting on any issue, generally speaking, now I know I'm generalising, but the protest generally takes place outside the building that you have the issue of concern with, are the facility. Say for example, there's a strike with, say, nurses, right? They'll be on strike, or even if they're maybe not on strike, but even protesting. It's generally speaking outside their place of work.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So abortions take place like in medical centres and sometimes in hospitals. So, I mean, that's the same concept, you know. Like, as I said to you earlier on...
But would it not make more sense, Eamon, would it not make more sense, and you could say this of a lot of protests, that the decision...
Yeah.
Firstly, the person going in there, you don't know their circumstances. You don't know. It could end up being your niece or something. We simply don't know, right? That the decisions are made in the Dáil, and surely that's the place where legislation is debated and written to protest. Why upset someone who's probably already gone, or perhaps was the victim of a sexual assault, for an example. And I hate using extreme examples, right, because I don't think that furthers any argument. But this is, it's a probability, right? What is what I don't understand the function of putting them through seeing that when really the people that are making the decision are sitting in Dublin.
Yes. Well, you see, the thing is, Greg, I mean, if you believe, as I keep saying, I know I'm saying the same.
It's okay, Eamon, I get you.
If you believe in a peaceful protest, I mean, this is all within law.
Yeah.
Like, and the Garda Commissioner was asked, and his expertise was that existing laws will deal with any, issues that arise, and no issues, to my knowledge, have arisen because I haven't heard anything, being reported in the media. But I mean, you could turn that around. You could say, why at the minute there's a lot of protests, as I said, pro-Palestinian protests.
Understand
they protest outside. They protest outside, push their.
But you're protesting an individual. You're protesting an individual person's decision. Let me put it to you like this, right? So okay, I get you. But say, for instance, there's something about you I didn't like, Eamon, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying there is. And I decided to get. There isn't, Eamon. But I decided to get 7 or 8 people together, okay, and stand outside your house. And it would be peaceful, okay? But you and if you had a partner and children would have to come in and out of that house every day, right? And we'd be there with placards that would offend you or your view or a decision you've made. Yeah. Yes, I would be peaceful in my actions, okay? But do I not have some responsibility for the anxiety and stress I'd put you and your family and your children through? It's something I would never, ever want to do. It's...
Well, the first point I'd like to make with that, Greg, I mean, I'm not sure if you would be aware. Generally speaking, pro-life protests, they're very small in nature anyways, and they're very sporadic. I mean, there's very few of them that be in Donegal. But generally speaking, just to give your viewers, if they've never seen one before, generally speaking, there might be 5 or 6 people, 10 at the most.
Yeah.
They might have a placard, saying that they oppose abortion or whatever. And generally speaking, the people are praying the rosary. That's generally what goes on. They're not stopping anybody going into any
I know that, but Eamon, you know the effect. You know the effect that has on it. It has a person going in there. A person going in there. It's designed to. It is well, whether it's designed to, it's going to intimidate, hurt them. It's going to make life difficult for staff potentially. And you and I know, Eamon, with the best will in the world, that protest is not going to change anything. The only thing it's going to do is emotionally impact the people, either A, accessing the services, or B, providing the services. It's never going to stop it in the nature of the protest that you've described, if you get where I'm coming from.
Yes, Greg, but there's lots of protests that take place that first of all, when I say any pro-life person isn't going out deliberately to upset somebody. Do you know what I mean? That's not their aim. But there's lots of protests that upset people. But I mean, I would still say the person has the right to protest peacefully.
Yes.
Just say for argument's sake, put your topic now. I'm not getting into the rights and wrongs of it, but just say there's a lot of protests now at places, refugee centres where people are actually living. You mentioned about protesting outside somebody's house there,
Yeah.
But these refugee centres are places where people live too,
Well, let's just say, for an example,
would that not be the?
People have a difficulty with that. There was a candlelit vigil organised in memory of the awful stabbing incident in which a young girl remains critically injured on her care, and we wish them a full and speedy recovery. They had that protest outside a refugee centre in East Wall in County Dublin.
Yes.
Now, it had nothing to do with the stabbing. But my point is, Eamon, just one moment. Just let me finish the sentence.
Yeah.
The function of that only could have been to make those people in the detention centre, many of them children, feel uncomfortable. And that's the point I'm trying to make. Like, does it matter if you're 100 metres away from the front door of a facility that provides abortion? Like, why do you have to be right outside it?
Yeah, but that doesn't apply but that's discriminatory because it doesn't apply to anybody else that's protesting on any other issue. That's the point. Do you know what I mean? This is a law specifically for pro-life protest. It doesn't,
I understand your point. Yeah, I do understand your point. Why this in particular? But
and I mean, I'm just giving you examples about Israel and about like refugee centres. I'm not saying they're right or they're wrong. The point I'm trying to make is that these protests do take place outside where people might be emotionally affected by them too. That's my point. It's not that they're right or wrong.
No, I understand that. I do understand that. Of course, I do. But you're uncomfortable with this legislation anyway. Suffice to say.
Well, you say, I mean, there's no other piece of legislation. I mean, as I said, everybody has the right to peaceful protest, but there's no other thing you can protest on that's going to have restrictions like this. That's my point.
Understood.
And I mean, the Garda Commissioner has said that there's no real need for it. I mean, and that is on record. So what I'm trying to get at, no matter what your viewpoint on these protests are, I mean, surely it's discriminatory when you say that a certain person hasn't got the right to protest.
Yeah, no, I take your point. I do take your point.
That's the issue. Yeah. It's not the right or wrong of abortion or that I'm getting at.
It's more about the protest, the right to protest on it. I understand. Okay. Well, listen, Eamon, I hope you feel heard. Your views were heard. So thanks very much for your time.
And thanks for contacting me to come on the show. Caroline contacted me there.
That's
thanks
good.
Very much.
Thanks for accepting that invite. Okay, Eamon O'Hara there. If you agree, disagree, 086 60 25,000 WhatsApps and texts.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
Add a splash of magic to the table this Christmas at Lidl. Carefully baked in Carlo, our deluxe 6-month matured Irish Christmas pudding, only $7.99. And a sparkling touch with our Lidl Plus wine of the week, Cava Reserva, save €6, now $12.99. Wishing you a magical Christmas with Lidl. Get the facts, be drink aware, visit drinkaware.ie.
There's big savings in big names for Christmas at McGee's Chemist Letterkenny, like Technic cosmetic sets from $3.95, Link sets from $4.95, Dove and Nivea sets also from $4.95, and there's great fragrance gift sets from all the big names at great prices. Treat a loved one this Christmas at McGee's Chemist, Main Street, Letterkenny, or online at mcgees.ie.
Join us in Donegal Town this Christmas for a special shopping extravaganza. 100 plus boutique shops, discounts galore and late shopping. Capture the festive atmosphere at the Donegal Town Shopping Spree. Friday 1st and Saturday 2nd of December.
Here lads, we didn't get the shopping again. How about another takeaway? Indian? Thai? Pizza?
Weight gain happens for many reasons in your 20s, but healthy eating is one of the 4 habits that can help. Learn more at gov.ie/healthy weight, an initiative of the Government of Ireland.
Highland Radio weather updates brought to you by Grant. From condensing oil and HVO biofuel boilers to heat pumps and underfloor heating, you can trust Grant to heat your home. Visit grant.ie.
Now, any mist or fog will be slow to clear through the morning, leaving a mostly dry day with spells of sunshine and scattered showers. Highest temperatures of 4 to 7 degrees in a light variable wind. Mostly dry with clear spells and isolated showers. Cold with lowest temperatures of -2 to +1 degrees tonight. So there will be frost and possibly ice in some areas. Areas of mist and fog will form as winds stay light and variable. Okay. Your pro-life commentator is avoiding the answer. The demonstrations are there to intimidate the women who are going for a termination. But the reason he perhaps didn't answer that directly, he might feel he did, is that he's saying that it's discriminatory, that particular type of protest is the one that's legislated for against, is the point he seemed to be insisting on making. Plenty more comments coming up. We're going to take one more final break before the news at 11 to clear the decks for a very busy 11 to 12.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Simplify your debts with a debt consolidation loan from Letterkenny Credit Union. Call us on 074 910 2126 or apply online via our app or in office today.
The government's Connecting Ireland Rural Mobility Plan is rolling out more public transport nationwide. This year, 36 new and enhanced TFI local link bus services and 4 new and enhanced bus Éireann routes have launched. With 22 more to come before the year ends, that's more than 1 a week. Rail services are also being upgraded with a greener, cleaner fleet. Each time you choose public transport, it helps reduce Ireland's transport emissions. Wherever you're going, your journey counts. Visit gov.ie/your journey counts. Brought to you by the Government of Ireland.
Do you suffer from high cholesterol, menopause symptoms, digestive issues, anxiety, aches and pains, or a lack of energy? The highly trained team at The Natural Way Letterkenny can provide advice on natural remedies for a number of individual health issues. The Natural Way also has its own brand of herbal treatments to help fight fatigue, relieve digestive discomfort, maintain a healthy immune system, and alleviate common menopause symptoms. The Natural Way at Letterkenny Shopping Centre, your one-stop health shop.
If you need advice on what's best for coughs or colds, or what's best for sore throats or flu, just ask at your local Brennan's pharmacy. If you need advice on the best vitamins and tonics to put a pep in your step, just ask at your local Brennan's pharmacy. Whether it's about backaches, headaches, or tummy aches, your Brennan's pharmacy team can help. If you need advice from someone you trust, we're here for you at your local Brennan's pharmacy, Buncrana, Clonmany and Creeslaw.
Check out these special offers at Simpson's Supermarket Letterkenny. There's Lyons Original Tea Bags 160s €4. Nicky Toilet Roll 32-pack €10. Fairlog 10-pack €12. And there's Neil's Flour 3 kg €3. Plus, we are now taking orders for your Christmas turkey. While there, check out Peggy's Kitchen Cafe for great food, tea and coffee. Only 2 minutes from Letterkenny Hospital. Simpson's Supermarket. Great value every day.
With all the stories that matter across the Northwest, it's Greg Hughes on the 9 to Noon Show on Highland Radio.
Okay, it's 11 o'clock. Let's get a news update, and it's over to Donna Marie Doherty.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. Residents of Knock and Glencovet in Ballybuffet are being urged to check their vehicles and sheds to ensure nothing has been stolen from them. The appeal comes from Garda following 2 overnight thefts, which seen one victim's livelihood taken. Those who also see power tools that match the description of those stolen are asked to contact Garda. Barry Cohen is to run for the European Parliament. He's issued a statement confirming he'll be putting his name forward for the selection as candidate. He says now is the right time for him to try and deliver for his Midlands Northwest constituency at a European level. An investigation is ongoing following an act of criminal damage on a van parked outside a home in Monfad, Newton Cunningham at around 3 a.m. on Tuesday last. A resident was awoken by their dogs barking and then heard footsteps outside, followed by a bang. Nothing was stolen. Gardaí are appealing to anyone who may have travelled in the area around that time to make contact with any relevant information or dashcam footage. The final working light has been broken at the main pier in Burton Port, leaving the fishing community there working in the dark. Councillor Michael Colin McGilla-Asbog says once again the community has been neglected. Councillor McGilla-Asbog has requested a generator be put in place in the interim, however that is yet to be implemented. And finally, a 45-year-old man has been charged to appear before Omagh Magistrates Court today in relation to an incident that occurred in Strabane. He's been charged with the offence of grievous bodily harm with intent. The assault reported to have occurred in Strabane at around 10 to 6 on Sunday evening last in the St Coleman's Drive area of the town. That's all for now from Highland Radio News. We'll be back with more news headlines at 12 o'clock. Until then, good morning.
Thanks very much, Donna Marie.
If you're not with Energy, chances are you're paying more than you need to for your electricity. As Ireland's newest energy supplier, we offer Ireland's cheapest electricity rates, saving our customers up to €355 a year. So if you want to pay less for energy, simply pay a visit to unoenergy.ie and sign up for big savings with smaller bills. With Energy, you just know. Energy discount rate EAB €1665. Supplier's pricing may change. For T's and C's and rates, see unoenergy.ie.
The county's #1 talk show, the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
A caller says, hi there. They also protest outside hospitals with placards of babies in the womb. And if I was going in because I was losing my baby, I'd have to pass this. And it's extremely upsetting. They are only being asked to keep a safe space from the entrance. They can still protest, just not at the door. Greg, I got free high vis from Garda last week to give to my home help patients who likes to walk. Okay, that's good. And we'll come back to more of your comments in a moment. But first, we are joined on the programme now by Senator Eileen Flynn. Good morning, Senator.
Good morning, Greg. Thanks for having me on the show this morning.
No, it's our pleasure. It's an important issue too. Patrick, a young traveller lost, was shown on RTE1 last night. You took part in the programme. And I have to say, running through social media, there seemed to be... and given the subject matter, it's an awkward way of phrasing it, but a very positive response. I think it opened people's eyes, made people think. Talk to me a little bit about the programme.
The documentary was aimed to raise awareness on traveller mental health and suicide and just mental health issues within our community. 1 in every 11 deaths in the traveller community is caused by suicide. Traveller women 6 times more likely to die by suicide than women in the general population, and traveller men 7 times more likely to die by suicide than men in the general population. Greg, for years, the National Traveller Mental Health Network and activists like myself has been raising this at national level. Our programme in government in 2020, early February, before they formed the government, they promised a standalone traveller mental health strategy. They promised to invest in traveller mental health, and unfortunately I'm here in Leinster House for the last 3 years like a broken record, and there's still no implementation on traveller specific mental health equality. We want access to services that ring around support for the traveller community. Like any other community, there's addiction, there's all sorts happening, like poverty as well within our community. But most importantly, racism, discrimination, hatred, just because you're a member of the traveller community is absolutely appalling in 2023 Ireland.
It is appalling as well, given the rates, as you mentioned, 7 times higher for men than settled men, 6 times higher for traveller women than settled women. And given the numbers that we're talking of, it should be very easy for whichever department is responsible to say, right, okay, we need a focused response to this. We need to put in specific measures in place to ensure that we're giving people the support that they need. It's actually really quite embarrassing as a nation that we haven't done that already, given the glaring, obvious issue that's there.
Let me say, in general, I think our mental health services in this country is not fit for purpose, and that's no disrespect to the staff. That's also a government problem. It's we need to invest in it. We need to invest in our workers. You know, as we've seen through other health, like nurses, doctors, people are leaving the country. We don't have the workers, and that all needs to be dealt with. We need better support, and better supports, Greg, for young people in general. Like, we have one of the highest in Europe for 19, 18-year-old young women dying by suicide in this country, and that's something that's not spoken about, you know. So I'm not on your show this morning saying that, like, traveller mental health, there's a crisis within the traveller community. Like, I've seen young people that I was born and reared with that no longer is alive due to suicide. The mine passed away last July due to suicide. My cousins, I have a few cousins that passed away due to suicide. And honestly, if I get a phone call at 11 or 12 o'clock at night from a family member, I do be terrified of my life that it's one of my brothers or sisters that's passed away through suicide. And even within my family, you know, I see addiction, people with struggling with their mental health and their well-being, and they've nowhere to go. They've absolutely nowhere to go, and it's a sin. You know, we've seen parts like that documentary last night wasn't a big show. you could see in that documentary, Patrick was a young man, a young boy that absolutely loved life. He wanted to be a YouTube star. His mother and father loved it. And you'll see he opened up a little parcel for his 11th birthday. He was delighted, and his father telling him how much he loved them. The child was so loved and valued by his parents. But unfortunately, outside of that, the child being what the parents believe, being bullied. And that bullying is just because he was a member of the traveller community. Like, we do have issues within our community, of course, and you see that through all communities, and like even local little communities in Donegal would have little ups and downs, you know what I mean? And we have it in our community too, where, you know, we're not all meant to think the one way and be the one way, but it's unfortunate that you see a 12-year-old child taking his life due to bullying. We see 13-year-old young people taking their life as well. And it's like, you know, this Patrick story, unfortunately, is not unique to our community, which is extremely sad. You know, I've seen young men at the age of 9 and 10 attempting suicide.
But I suppose, is it part of the not part of the issue as well, but also just thinking in that, you know, if you were to sit a young person like that down, I have to be really careful with my language because of the topic that's here. But I'm on about sort of, then you say, you know, about the future. So maybe a person of 13 or 14 who feels different or singled out or bullied or whatever, or held back or oppressed or whatever the word might be, you know, unfortunately the way society is, they may feel, well, that's what it's like as an adult as well. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Where I can go, what I can do, who I can get a job, how I'll be treated, what might be said to me. So that's if that's the future that's ahead, you know, I think we have to sort of deal with that as well, because that really probably can be really quite difficult to overcome.
From my own experience, Greg, as like when I was a young woman, you know, I didn't want to be a member of the traveller community. There were a sense of shame until I reached the age of 25 years of age. And that sense of shame came from the rejection from society. You were never going to be good enough. You were always seen as a knacker. You were never going to be anything or valued within society. And like, I lived with those demons, like many young travellers are living with today. And I'm just touching on my own experience, you know. I got out of all that, like, by staying in education, but that's not the case for every member of the traveller community.
Yeah, but still, as a very successful woman, as someone very high up in politics, as someone with a voice, you still are, the first comments that come towards you are still based on your traveller background. I mean, you have to deal with that. I mean, if you want to operate in society, your tax is that you have to deal with being singled out in everything that comes out of your mouth because of your background. That is the way you have to live your life. You know what I mean? And if you're strong, that's fantastic, but you can never escape it, it seems, in this life. Yeah.
And even sometimes people who come across strong is not all that strong. I haven't put one of my comments on my social media to be just because, you know, no matter how strong you are, no matter where your role is, you know, everybody has demons. And like, after I had Billy, I had very bad postnatal depression, and thankfully there were a light at the end of the tunnel there for me too, you know. And again, I said last night in the show, Greg, like, young traveller children want to be, they watch Fireman Sam hoping to be a firefighter. They watch Paw Patrol, like my children today, hoping to be guards or to be police, you know what I mean? And like, the children are born with hopes and ambition, and so is the traveller child, and so is the traveller adult as well. Yeah. Because I was once that young person that had to hide her address to get a job as a young person. I always wanted to work, you know, and that's like many members of the traveller community, but some of us have more support than others. And to think in 2023, Ireland, you know, that traveller children are still on reduced timetables, that travellers still can't get a job, like many travellers still can't get a job. And you know something, sometimes even in this job that I have, you know, I'm like, fight it. why did I put myself in this situation? Because some days it's better than others. But last night, watching that documentary, seeing Patrick's parents, seeing Bernie Power, other travellers speak so eloquent, and the show itself was driven by travellers. There were no professionals from the settled community, and I think that show really hot the heart of Irish society. And you know something, as overall we're caring and loving a community, a society as well, and I think that's really important. And I know since last Thursday, there's been a lot of fear within society, and I've heard you speak just there about barriers going up outside of Leinster House, etc. I will say one thing. I was speaking to a woman this morning in the cafe, getting myself a cup of coffee, and she was telling me about some of the staff in Leinster House, the women who's wearing hijabs, people of colour, black and brown people, the fear that they have, just like in any other workplace, and the fear that people are
actually, it's funny. It's quite interesting. In one of the videos that was released to try and rally people onto the streets, the travelling community were singled out in relation to that as well. Yeah. And there's just one thing I want to clarify, not for you, because I think you know where I come from, Eileen, but just in case anyone picked up. When I said you can't escape, as an adult, you can't escape the abuse. It's not escape your background. It's to live in a society whereby you're not abused because of your background. And I know you know what I meant, but it's just in case anyone picked up the wrong way.
There's no way out, Greg.
So what do we do? Right. So what do we do? Because we've had these conversations, and they're always happening, right? And you were very quick to point out, yes, there are problems within my community, and this, that, and that. So, but how do we move forward rather than you speaking so eloquently, making your point, someone feeling the need to texting in and say, well, travellers are their own worst enemies? How do we move past this, or get around a table or have a conversation whereby we actually make progress, if you get where I'm coming from? Because it's Groundhog Day.
The 1963 report, the itinerary report, refers to travellers as thinkers and washed and cleaned. Like, I would absolutely encourage your listeners, it's not something that you can read overnight. If you were to take an hour out each day for the next few weeks and read through that report, it would absolutely make the hair rise in your head, because of how you really want travellers to be fake settled people. And again, we have faults in our community, just like in any other in any other community. But the biggest fault is the lack of implementation and the lack of political will. When it comes, for the last 3 years, Greg, I spoke last night about exhaustion as well. Like, the community is absolutely exhausted. For the last 3 years, I've sat around tables, and no point, people say to me, you're very strategic, Eileen, you're always very kind, blah, blah, blah. I could get up there and give it loads, and I don't do that because that's what they expect from me. I try my very best to have that dialogue for positive outcomes for travellers and to make life a little bit easier for all of us in society. But again, there's been very little implementation on the 84 recommendations, very little implementation on mental health. And I'm doing the order of business today to really beg the Minister for Mental Health, will she stand by her word? Will she implement what she promised, and the government promised us in 2020, that national traveller strategy that will help? It may not save many lives, Greg, but it will help to...
Yep, okay, the line's dropped on us there. Okay, unfortunately we've lost the line there to Senator Eileen Flynn, but she made her points very clearly there. And just to let you know that there are 24-hour supports available to you. The Samaritans, 116112, Pieta, 1-800-247-247. You can text about it to text by simply starting a text conversation. Hello to 50808, and Childline 1-800 666 666. Some of your comments here. Hi, Greg. Harrowing programme. President Higgins summed it up as to how it would affect you. Son was at school with a traveller child at national school. Said he was the best, intelligent, good-hearted, just never given the help. Sometimes he would have a scorn on his face, but this was because he hadn't had a breakfast. He was misrepresented as being hot-headed. So would you if you hadn't eaten. That TV programme last night was a hard watch. Poor parents of Patrick, such a loving and caring family, yet he was bullied by anti-traveller abuse at school. People need to cop on and stop racism against travellers. Reminds me of how Irish were treated when they emigrated to Britain and the USA years ago. On to some comments as it relates to our conversation about protests being banned or moved 100 yards up the road from outside facilities that offer abortion services. Greg, the main purpose of these gatherings is to let it be known that there is help available, which would enable them to continue their pregnancy to birth. Mother and baby, government benefits don't kick in until after the baby is born, so it's to let mothers know that there is support, including monetary help available through voluntary pro-life groups. But of course, we also have to have to also respect that a woman has made that decision for her own reasons, and presumably not on the spur of the moment, that has thought hard about it, perhaps agonised about it, and is not just thinking, oh, I must have an abortion because I didn't know there's benefits available. I mean, we have to give people a bit of credit as well as to the motivation for their decisions. There's no point in showing concerns about the child victims of the stabbing but turning a blind eye to those going to be aborted. They are all children, okay, but there's no point also, let me add in, turning your attention away. And we get no messages about this, or not enough messages about this, in relation to the 120,000 children that called Childline last year because they are being abused physically, sexually. 120,000 calls last year. What about them? You know, this is right now, this is our history right now as we speak, and no one is protesting or coming out in the streets or saying enough is enough for those children. I'm sure there are, but I just don't see the calls and the messages and the text. Hi, Greg, what's the ratio of people having abortion in Ireland due to rape or abuse against those of personal choice? I have no idea to that. Greg, whether one supports abortion or not, it has nothing to do with peaceful protests, lawful assembly. So continuing to ask that gentleman why protest outside abortion centres is unnecessary, and maybe why people don't want to go on the airwaves with you to discuss topics, which I've never come across before. He came on and I was very respectful to him. It's a very basic question as to why, if you can do it 100 metres up the road, why you want to do it exactly outside it. I think that's a legitimate question and might help people understand the motivation beside them. It's not a gotcha question or a trick question. It's simply a question. That's it. Anyway, however, as we've seen elsewhere, they want to say in recent years, the government of the day allows or supports protests that align with them and condemn whatever they don't. Example, the lockdown protests, the Black Lives Matter protests, pro-Palestinian and anti-immigration, etc., etc. Listen, there's something to that. There does seem to be a different approach depending on what the protest might be, but we are talking in the context of last Thursday. Riots and disorder, which aren't protests. I've never seen a regular protest dispersed as such. Not off the top of my head can I think of one, but I take your point in regard to that. Okay, let us take a break.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans now available. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
Could you train the next generation of skilled workers? If you're a qualified tradesperson, you could become an apprenticeship instructor. Join an ETB team who share your passion and will get you up and running with opportunities nationwide across construction, electrical, engineering, motor industry and more. And with flexible work-life balance and a very competitive salary, why not apply today at apprenticeship.ie, an initiative of the Government of Ireland.
Make Christmas for everyone at Dunnes Stores, with everything you need for a Christmas party to remember. Like 20% off a great range of wine and champagne, including Oyster Bay and Moet et Chandon. Perfectly paired with a delicious selection of cheeses, 2 for €8. Plus, with our 10.50 grocery voucher, you save even more. Make Christmas for everyone at Dunnes Stores. Terms and conditions apply. Voucher can be used on next grocery shop of €50 or more. Voucher excludes alcohol. Please drink sensibly.
Hi, Tommy Bow here. Get in store to check out my new 15 Kings clothing collection, available in premium gents outfitters nationwide and at 15kings.com.
It's the Christmas cracker we've all been waiting for. Join Highland Radio for a star-studded Christmas concert on Monday the 11th of December in the Mount Errigal Hotel, Letterkenny. Starring Michael English and his band, Claudia Buckley, John McNichol, rising star Jack Keogh and myself, David James. This is a Christmas night out not to be missed. Tickets €25, available from the Mount Errigal Hotel reception or online from the outlet at highlandradio.com. Dinner, bed and breakfast packages also available. That's the Highland Radio Christmas concert on Monday the 11th of December.
Highland Radio time checks with Expressway. Travel Route 32 from Letterkenny to Dublin when you book online and travel for less. Expressway, bringing you the time at...
The time's 23 minutes past 11. I am in studio with Tanya Nikarine, who is CE Supervisor. We're talking about the Romalton Community Employment Project, producing a calendar for next year. Good morning, Tanya. How are you getting on?
Good morning, Greg.
Thanks so much for calling in. You don't need those on unless you're comfortable with them on.
Thank you very
completely
much.
up to you. It's just myself and yourself.
Perfect.
Okay, so talk to me a little bit about the Romalton Community Employment Project. What's the work of it?
Well, the work of the community project has been going on since about 2010. There was a previous scheme there, and it looked after ancestry. They did a lot of research around that area. But for some reason, anyway, it fizzled out. And in 2010, then, a group of 4 men put together the CE scheme. Ian McGarvey called a meeting in the town, and 4 men stepped forward: Joe Burney, Edward Diver, John McDade and Tony Boyce, and decided it would be great to support the community, you know, where maybe there was volunteering didn't fulfil all of the jobs that needed to be filled in the town. So from that then, the community employment scheme looked after various activities around the town, from the community centre, the town hall, you know, various environmental works around town and that. The churches, graveyards, a whole vast array of activities in the town. And in 2019 then, I had the fortunate opportunity to come to Donegal and work with a fantastic, motivated bunch of people in the community scheme in Romalton.
We'll talk about the calendar, because it's a calendar with a difference.
So the calendar,
then, but we'll not go straight to that if that's okay, because it's part of a fundraising effort for the Tidy Towns group. They want to buy street sweepers. Is that right?
They do indeed. Yeah.
And are we at the beginning of that process, or are we topping up a fund, or what's the story?
We're kind of we're part way through. Put it that way. So we decided there's a lot of ways of managing, you know, litter and weeds and that around town, and we would like to do it as sustainably as we can, at least. So we thought, by eliminating the use of some of the more poisonous weed killers and things like that, if we managed the weeds and that by removing the soil, you know, and the muck that gathers along the edge of the curbs, then that would eliminate that problem.
Sense, yeah.
So we set about putting together a plan to do that, and a street sweeper was a really good option to do that, because it maintains all of the verges around town, and again, it eliminates all the hard work and the poison being spread.
Yeah, of course, which is good. Right, so on to the calendar itself, because, you know, it is an iconic town. I think we can all agree Romalton, it's the most beautiful place, and it's one of the, I think it's one of the towns that we have whereby you get a sense of, I don't know, you get a sense of the history of it, if you know what I mean. You get you know what I mean, there's the age to it, as my dad might have said. Yeah, but I'm not very artistic and stuff, so I can only go by my feel,
of course.
You know, but you just feel that there's a connection there to the past, if you know what I'm saying. And the calendar then is absolutely beautiful, all the pictures you'd expect to see, but there is a difference to it. So talk our listeners through the calendar as I show those watching.
Well, as you said, it is. As you said, it's renowned for being an iconic town. You know, beautiful buildings, heritage buildings, the lovely river obviously running through it, you know, meeting the Swilly. So, and everybody knows it for that. But the people that I work with have such a fantastic sense of humour, and they love their town so much that we decided to bring a bit of a twist to it. So we animated it a wee bit.
Yeah, it's lovely.
And we've put in some lovely scenes all around the town with our own twist of various events that happen throughout the year. and occasions and that.
Like, it works on a lot of levels, doesn't it?
Really
there is a bit of
does.
humour there. There is the scenery. There's the personality of the community, and there's a recognition of the stuff that goes on as well. There's a particular lovely photo there with the 118 in the background there. Okay, yeah, so that's the type of stuff. Right, and it's not very expensive either. It's only €8 and it's wonderfully produced.
It is. We were very fortunate. Everybody contributed voluntarily to the production of it.
For anyone watching.
So the production of it was only made possible by, goodwill in the town.
Yeah.
So everybody participated. Photographer. It was all done free. So the costs, obviously, we've managed to produce it reasonably cheaply because we aim to maximise our profits, so that we can contribute to the town sweeper for the Tidy Towns group.
Brilliant stuff. And it's always nice when you're asking people to put their hand in their pocket that you're giving them something in return.
For sure.
And it is a calendar for 2024. And even in
is.
this day and age with everything that's going on, you can't beat a calendar on the wall, can you?
No. And
trying to find the calendar app on your phone can be an issue.
True enough. But it has the iconic sites. It has fabulous people with humour in town. It's a lovely twist and a great stocking filler for €8.
Yeah. Where do people get it?
So the calendar will be available in all the retail shops around town, I do believe, and in the charity shop. And if you really can't find one there, contact us on our Facebook page, on our Tidy Towns Ramelton Tidy Towns Facebook page, or you can call the office. Can I give a number or an email address?
If you wish to, yeah.
You can call us in the office at 074 915 2545, or you can contact us by email at tonyanick@rameltonce.ie. That's TONYANIC at rameltonce.ie.
And we have all of those contacts for us, and people, because I say it so often, probably know our number off by heart. And the cost of the calendar is just €8, and all profits go to the purchase of a town sweeper. And for all the reasons you heard Tonya outline, to keep it beautiful as a place to live and to visit and what have you as well.
And to work.
All right, okay. Listen, Tonya, thank you very much for that. We really do appreciate
Thank you,
it. It's a lovely thing, so go out and get yours. You're covered for next year then, and you also support the CE and the work they're doing. Thanks so much, Tonya. Really appreciate it. That's Tonya Nikareen there. Back with more after the break.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook, and at highlandradio.com. The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
At Tesco, we're helping you become more Christmas. Cover off the neighbours' gifts early with large selection boxes like Galaxy Christmas Collection and Cadbury Stocking Selection Box, and more, 3 for €10. Or go all out and get them gift sets like the Nivea Feel Gorgeous gift bag, now better than half price. Should they'll be glowing brighter than their lights. Tesco. Every little helps. Club card required, subject to availability. Available in the majority of stores. Prices may vary in express stores. T's and C's apply. See tesco.ie.
Cartlanna. Fariglam Starula. Costner Rod Museum. Is few go mór rudí Starula. Mas féidir de agricht curla heirecht na héiren, beidir gemacht tú cáliche diontas all fún guiste muirseach daireachta. Tá iirtish oscultinis Heritage Council.ie /funding. Let takicht on reintíochta realta seartúlagus aireachta.
Do you need a UK address? Save hundreds of euros on custom charges shopping online with Space Hub Dairy. We provide a full virtual address mailbox service for all your business and personal use. Save hundreds, possibly thousands, on custom charges with Space Hub Dairy. Call 048 71 87 8077 or online spacehubdairy.com for more details.
The Hyundai Electric family, designed for yours. The Ioniq 5 with a range of up to 507 kilometres. The all-new Kona with a range of up to 514 kilometres. And Irish Car of the Year 2024, the Ioniq 6 with a range of up to 614 kilometres. Hyundai, our family, designed for yours.
Your local dealer is Divers Hyundai, Canal Road, Letterkenny. Call 91 22 600.
Letterkenny Summer Sessions with MCD Promotions present the Wolf Tones 60th year anniversary tour on Saturday the 17th of August 2024, live at the Big Top Marquee, Kiltoy, Letterkenny. 4,500 capacity. Tickets on sale this Friday at 10 a.m. from tickets.ie. Don't miss this huge Northwest farewell concert. For more, follow Summer Sessions on all social media platforms.
Right, okay. Sorry, I was just standing at the radiator trying to get a wee heat up. Okay, we are joined on the programme now by Sinead. Sinead, sorry about not getting to you just before the news at 10. Just wanted to make sure we had plenty of time. How are you keeping?
Not so bad. How are you doing, apart from getting yourself heated up?
Yeah, you think the government's using the riots as an excuse to introduce facial recognition cameras. Are you in favour or opposed to this new technology?
I'm not opposed to the technology per se, but I'm opposed to this, and I think it's quite cynical what they're doing. I'm opposed to this facial recognition technology because, as the experts on the subject previously outlined, there's so many problems with them. And the fact that it could also, you're looking at potentially, is it going to be used for mass surveillance? What is it? What exactly is it? No, they're definitely using it. They're just using it for this, and this has been on the cards for a long time. It's something they've been trying to introduce for a while, and now this is quite a cynical attempt.
Like, I don't want to be exaggerate the situation, but is it then a big reach that every camera, say if you have a Chime doorbell, for an example, it's on a network. Where does this end in terms of, if this is so important, to what lengths would one go to access this type of imagery? In other words, we could theoretically, if the worst comes to the worst, pretty much be observed in every element of our lives, effectively.
Correct. And also what you have to think about as well, as you're saying, things are contained in the cloud. Now, with Irish public civil servants' understanding of technology and security and data security, I would be extremely worried about that, because they don't, as I was saying earlier, the people who were organising, the known people who were organising all this stuff, within 10 minutes of that incident, that horrible, horrible incident in Dublin last week, within 10 minutes they were on their usual channels. These people have had their face all over YouTube, all over social media for years. There is absolutely,
but you might not like. But Sinead, you might, if we're talking about the same people, and I presume we are, you might not like what they have to say, right? You might not like what you have to say, but you don't want their right to say it withheld from them, do you? Just because it doesn't align with your viewpoints, because like, counterpoint the arguments, get the silent majority, as some might have it, to speak out. Do we really want to deplatform people just because we don't like to hear what they have to say?
That's not what I'm saying at all. And I am firmly, as you know, I am very keen on debate and having views aired. What it strays into, though, where it crosses the line, where there are people organising, and they are literally, and if anybody wants it, I'll send it to them. They are saying that they're organising to go down to the town in Dublin, the town centre, to kill any foreigners they see. Now, these are people who have had their faces on the media, on social media, on YouTube for years. These are the people that the likes of, and I just see actually today, Aoife Gallagher, our own Donegal woman, Aoife Gallagher, has a piece in the Irish Independent specifically about this. An expert in the subject. Within 10 minutes, this sort of chat was going on. Now, you can't tell me, anybody can tell me, that wasn't foreseeable. That was not foreseeable, because it was all out there within 10 minutes of that. And with all of the stuff that's been going on for the past couple of years in Ireland, senior Gardaí, and I'm not blaming the rank and file, but the senior Gardaí should have known that this had the potential.
Well, you see, the problem is this.
Why are they not tracking
there's two things going on here, because the Guard said, the senior Gardaí, you quite rightly made that distinction. They said you could never have predicted this. Yes, you could, because there was a...
We were all predicting
because
this.
at 6 o'clock there was videos going out saying, right, tool up, get down here, meet you at 7. Now is our time. So if they didn't foresee it, then B, they don't have the intelligence, and I don't mean that in terms of their brain power. I mean in terms of the manpower. They don't have the intelligence to monitor social media and say, right, lads, we have an issue here because there's a call to action at 7. So even by saying that no one could predict it, I think it actually exposes, gaps in the policing, because they should have seen it, because it was forewarned.
It's bad policing. It is, as I said, it is very poor policing, and it's not to do with, as I say, rank and file Gardaí who are doing what they can within the space that they have and within the restrictions that they have. But senior Gardaí should have a dedicated. There should be something dedicated to monitoring these spaces. I mean, this is not brain surgery stuff here. The police forces across the world have this. Why do the Gardaí not? Those are the kind of questions that should be being asked. I mean, as I said, we've been predicting this. I've been on this show talking about this many times over the past couple of years. Greg, you and I have had many conversations about it. So to say it couldn't be predicted, it's ridiculous. But no, I do not like those.
But also the Gardaí, the Garda, I really want to be careful with how I phrase this, because I'm of a firm belief. I don't like people being labelled because of different views. I think we need to debate and discuss and what have you. But then, of course, there are very extremes that I don't want to go in there either. But my point is that, the government would have had you believe there is no concerns about a different political ideology emerging in this country. The Guards would have said the same. And I've asked that question many times on this show, and it was like, well, you don't do it because then you just amplify it, or you don't talk about it because it amplifies it. And in other words, trying to pretend that there isn't a growing movement in this country that could be represented in the Dáil in 5 years. And I suggested that on Friday, and it was dismissed. I don't believe so. I think we're very close to that now. So we have to have conversations because it's happening.
We do. And there's no point in burying our heads in the sand. Now, I don't know about the 5 years period, and I genuinely hope that the events in Dublin have opened people's eyys.
Okay, well, let me tell you why I believe that's the case, right? Because let's say, for instance, 3 years ago, Peter Casey, some might agree with what he says and some might disagree with what he says, but in an instant, on one topic, or one, at least in the initial instance, he completely threw that presidential race on its head potentially, and potentially could have been elected as well if a Conor McGregor type person were to come forward who speaks to the masses with a really high profile. I believe that he could very easily be elected to an office. He won't, because that's not what his game. And that could all happen very quickly. So I actually genuinely believe that could happen, not this election, but the election afterwards, for the reasons I've just outlined.
I don't know about the time frame. I mean, look, it's a much more crowded field when you're talking about local politics and you're talking about, national politics and TDs and councillors and that kind of thing. So I'm not 100% certain that would be the case within 5 years. But I agree with you in that if we're not careful, we're not absolutely careful, and we're not seeing this for what it is, and it is a danger to Irish public society, everybody in it, because, look, the people with that ideology, they're not good for anybody, not us.
But can I just say, though,
not even themselves.
I'm not saying I see that as a danger either. I just see it as a potential reality. I don't know. That's fine, but I don't know. I don't know. There's a lot of people with views that feel aren't being represented by any political party, and they're not outliers or what have you. They could be your family or your friends, or my family or my friends. But anyway, okay, Sinead, listen, I appreciate your comments as it relates to you believing the government are using those riotous behaviour to introduce legislation that they wanted to introduce anyway. So I appreciate your time.
I'm going to sign off by saying what I usually do, and just also shout out to anybody, because, as I said, we did have a statement up there after all of those events, those horrible events. We have a statement up on Facebook there from Buncrana for All, and we just want to make sure that everybody is aware that, that is not reflective of the society here, of the vast majority of society here. And I'm going to appeal to everybody, as I always do. Please be careful what you're reading on Facebook. Please be very careful. Verify it. get it verified, and don't fall down that rabbit hole, please.
All right, thanks very much for that, Sinead. A caller says, I heard an interesting comment yesterday that there is no such thing as a settled traveller. You're a traveller, full stop. Would the Senator agree there is or isn't a difference? Well, I would. If you were to ask me to differentiate between the two, is just where one might live, whether or not you're resident settled in a particular area with your roots laid there, or you are inclined to move around more. Maybe that's me being ignorant or naive, but that's the only thing I thought that reference to. Regarding that documentary last night, one of the problems is that there's no travellers now. They are doing themselves no justice by referring to themselves as travellers, especially when it comes to jobs. They're no longer travellers. They're settled. 99% of them living in houses now. But again, there's more to being a traveller than where you live or how you live as well, I presume. Look, it works both ways. There's so many settled people intimidated by travellers every day, especially older people made to pay for work that's only half done. I'm not saying that doesn't happen, but if this is the constant approach where we have a representative from the travelling community to say things need to change, and then we have a representative from the settled community saying, well, it's the travellers' fault themselves. These arguments have been made for as long as I've been doing a job like this, and we're not getting anywhere, really, are we? Let me see. This three-party government, and that's what it is, a party who have failed time and time again, and now they can't even protect our children. Roll on the next election. Their days are numbered after the terrifying attacks on under 10-year-old children. Right, OK, we are going to be back with our next guest in just 2 minutes.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from €40,000 to €600,000 with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
A unmharúí. Ba ahria eile bhaine leis an mrata mochtag teachtar an taine lás trocha de bhíanaar 2024. Tuaí rialtas na riachta aontaithe isteach seicálacha agus rialathe nua ahria hagan isteach sa bhreatain mhór. Gach gnó airnach á anmhaíonn go háirí a bia nó tóirgí talmhaíochta eile go dtí an bhreatain mhór ba chóir bhéir an ólas faoina ceanglis nua. Ba seart a shrádália a sláirí soláthar briotanach a scrúdú agus a bheith olamh don rialacha nua seo. Chun tella ólas a áil tá cuairtear gov.ie/Brexit ar na huirteagat ag rialtas na hÉireann.
The Black Tag event is now on at Curry's. Treat them or treat yourself with the Samsung 55-inch Smart OLED TV, now only €849. Save €50. Or save €50 on the 15-inch HP laptop with Intel Core i3, now only $349. Get in store or online at currys.ie.
Giving the gift of football at Brian McCormick Sports. New Adidas Euro 24 replica ball out now. The #1 football gift this Christmas. Precision grip socks. Match it up with a pair of precision footless socks. It's the perfect gift for any age. For the GAA star, try the new V2 Murphy's gloves, available in new colours. The perfect Christmas gift for all the family. Click bmcsports.ie.
Millionaire Raffle from the National Lottery is back. With 1 millionaire guaranteed and over €6.3 million in cash prizes to be won, it's the biggest ever. The draw is on New Year's Eve and tickets are limited to 600,000. The National Lottery. It could be them. Gift responsibly.
Highland Radio weather updates brought to you by Grant. From condensing oil and HVO biofuel boilers to heat pumps and underfloor heating, you can trust Grant to heat your home. Visit grant.ie.
So mostly dry day with spells of sunshine and scattered showers. Temperatures 4 to 7 degrees, winds light. Mostly dry tonight with clear spells and isolated showers. Cold, lowest temperatures -2 to +1 degrees. So there will be frost and possibly ice in some areas. Areas of mist and fog will form as winds stay light and variable. A new report has found that Ireland will miss EU targets on recycling unless changes are made to our waste industry. The Circular Economy and Waste Statistics highlight reports from the EPA shows that municipal waste recycling in Ireland stood at 41%, far lower than the 55% needed by 2025. The report also found that just under 28% of plastic packaging generated in Ireland was recycled in 2021. We don't want most of this plastic packaging, by the way. I think most consumers don't anyway. Celine Horner is Senior Scientific Officer in the Circular Economy Programme at the EPA and is with us now. Good morning, Celine.
Good morning, how are you?
Good. So why are our recycling rates so low?
Well, what this report does is it pulls together lots of different waste streams, and we can see in overall that we are generating more and more waste each year. And what we want is a circular economy where we, take materials out of the earth, use them many, many times, and recycle and then have minimal waste. That's what we want. That would be a circular economy. What we have is a linear economy where we're using stuff just the once, recycling poorly, and then a lot of it's going for incineration. So we really need to change our ways. It's not just about improving recycling, it's about reducing the amount of waste that's generating in the first place. So that's how we're going to achieve our targets, by, reducing the amount of waste. I mean, I heard you talking about consumers don't want the packaging, and that's true. I think we need to do more on industrial side of things, that people are getting less waste into their bins, that, we've lightweighted the packaging, that we've designed our packaging differently, that we've designed our waste materials and how we use them better at the beginning, because once you have a waste, you have to deal with it. But we need to design before the waste is ever created.
And how do we do that? How do you get there? I know you talked about industry, but in reality, how do we get to that space?
Well, there has been some progress. I think if we look at the ban on the single-use plastics that came out in 2021, there was also, with that directive, there was a requirement to put more recycled material into plastic bottles. So when you buy your plastic bottle now, there's a requirement to have recycled plastic in that, and that creates a demand for more plastic to be recycled. So we need to see more of that. We need to see more products being required to include recycled material in their makeup. Then the material is circulated again rather than sort of just being used once and, being incinerated, for example. The other thing is that, at the moment we're sending 400,000 tonnes of black bin waste, your residual waste. Actually, I shouldn't use the word black bin, it's your general bin, because I know everyone has a different colour bin.
I understood what you meant, if that helps. Okay.
Did you? Thank you. Your general waste bin, 400,000 tonnes of that is actually being exported. Now, for a start, we shouldn't have that much excess waste, because we do have 2 incinerators in Ireland, but exporting is sort of a waste of a resource, because, we're paying other countries to come take that and burn it in their incinerators, providing energy for their homes and businesses. And we think that this is something that Ireland should really be taking advantage of, all the energy potential that we have in our own waste streams.
Yeah, because I think consumers, or the general public, feel a little bit let down to some extent in that, we have our black bin and our blue bin, as most listeners might understand. There is this sense often that it all just ends up in the one bin lorry, so why are we separating it to begin with? I'm not saying that happens routinely, but it certainly does happen, and then it's sorted at a later date. We go to the clothes bank and dump our stuff in the clothes bank thinking we're doing the right thing, but that ends up lying in rivers and often, dumped in an African country somewhere. And we often, we feel I just feel like, the public's being let down quite a bit, and it's not being called out as much as it should be, because lots of people do feel they're trying their best, they're doing the right thing, but then they're having to deal with this excess packaging and then no faith in what's happening with their waste when they dispose of it responsibly.
Yeah, I do agree. We're not going to be able to recycle our way out of this waste problem. We have a waste problem, and we have to reduce the amount that's generated. When you talk about clothes, there's been a huge change in how we use clothing. We have to stop buying fast fashion. We have to get more into repair. There's a repair directive coming out again for electrical goods, and we need to get more into reusing and repairing stuff. We need to stop trying to, over-consume, because overconsumption leads to waste. But I think people need to be supported in this. We've seen in our waste characterisation study, although there's 2/3 of the waste in the general waste bin shouldn't be there, it should be in a brown bin or a recycling bin, when we go to apartments, it's much worse. So this shows to us that if people have a better system in place, better bins, better segregation, they'll get on board. A lot of apartments don't have good segregation because they're not given a good waste system.
So do you think everyone should have to have a brown bin, for an example, which would be for
everyone
food
should
waste
have to have a brown bin. From this year, it's law that all businesses can have a brown bin from July this year, and by the end of this year, which is just tomorrow basically, every household can have a brown bin. So you can get onto your waste operator and ask for a brown bin. And it has to be given to you. And I think it's important to remember that even that mucky, manky stuff on the bottom of your bin is a resource. We can compost that. We can use the energy from it through anaerobic digestion. We can produce soil conditioners, and there's lots of companies doing that. So we need to get the material to them so that they can make this material circular, make it useful, make it a soil conditioner that we can actually use.
Yeah, so we're exporting a potential asset really too as well, though we want to reduce our overall waste.
You know, we're taking stuff out of the earth, using it once. It makes no sense. We need to circularize our economy. And that's the only way we're going to get out of this problem, because recycling on its own will not work. Recycling is important. We have targets, but I think people are beyond sort of caring about targets. They want to do something for their environment. They want to do something to reduce our climate emissions.
And again, to help us, I mean, for a long time, if something went in your washing machine or your dryer, parts aren't available for that, they don't produce parts, but we've got this brand new one here for $299 or $399. It's good for us that we can maybe start to get parts and repair things and keep them. That's what we want, as consumers.
I mean, exactly. I think we all need to have a better relationship with our products rather than trying to get rid of them as soon as, they need a slight repair. And I think we need businesses to get behind us and help us as individuals to manage our waste by not generating so much waste in the first place. There's reuse options that they could use, refill options that work in other countries. They would often buy crates of water, fizzy water, whatever. They bring back the crates and the bottles the next week, and in effect you're just buying the water rather than having to deal with the packaging that came with, and that's a reuse system. And I think more of that needs to happen to help householders and businesses to deal with their waste and reduce the amount of waste.
Celine, thanks for your time today. Have a lovely day.
Thank you, you too. Bye.
Bye-bye. Celine Horner there, Senior Scientific Officer in the Circular Economy Programme at the EPA. Should we get to some of your comments here as we wrap up the show? Hi, Greg. I've noticed that there are a lot of female commentators on sport recently. Some are very good and knowledgeable, particularly those females who've played the sport at its highest level. However, there are other female commentators and presenters who are not quite up to the mark, and their observations and comments can be lacking in insight. It's not a gender issue, but rather I feel an error on the part of the broadcaster in its haste to correct the gender imbalance. Some of the female commentators and pundits are being fast-tracked to appease the guardians of political correctness at the expense of good journalism. While this is happening, they're inadvertently showing some females in a poor light and doing a disservice to future female commentators and presenters. That comes in from Eugene. But Eugene, you'd hear, as well as all of us do, some people can't stand certain commentators either, regardless of whether they're male or female. The government is slowly trying to take away our human right to have a say in what's right and wrong. It's all to protect the government so no one can say anything about or complain. It's to shut us up. If TDs would for once do as they promised at election times, the people would not be turning against them. But it's how one turns against it. It's about at the ballot box rather than elsewhere, is it? The riots in Dublin were wrong, says the listener, but they were caused by the growing tension of government policies which treat Irish citizens and residents as second-class citizens. 12,000 homeless and growing over the last decade. It's 13 now, I believe. Meanwhile, 700 modular homes earmarked for Ukrainians in Dublin and Cork, and over 100 in Sligo. In Blanchardstown in Dublin, there's been an African gang of youths hooded, wearing all black, armed with machetes, terrorising an area for years. But that's down to policing, isn't it? I mean, that shouldn't be the case. I'm not quite sure of all of that, but anyway, look, at the end of the day, I don't think those ones that were out protesting, rioting last Thursday, really are doing it for any political reasons or what have you. I think it's just was opportunistic. The media seems to have deluded itself into believing that if people simply stopped talking about mass immigration, then public concern about the issue would go away. Hi, Greg. The Irish government is being made fun of on Twitter for how ridiculous and China's CCP like the new hate speech and facial technology they want. Even Elon Musk has noticed. Seems you can only have one opinion. The political elites and posh Dublin's opinions. Elon Musk is funny. He's held up as this. I mean, this fellow is the richest man in the world. He's the richest man in the world. He lives in an ivory tower. He has access to anything he wants. He can do whatever he wants. He can say whatever he wants. I mean, if I was looking for a hero, it wouldn't necessarily be he. He uses his platform for his benefit. The reason he's so opposed to hate speech, or one of the reasons is hate speech in inverted commas, is because advertisers won't advertise on his platform because of it. Now, some of the advertisers are too easily lobbied and make poor decisions. But he's not doing it for you. He's doing it for him. He's doing it to protect his €44 billion investment. He's not just the hero you might think he is. VAR has made football hard to watch. I'm with you, Greg. Yeah, indeed, I think so. One of these Fridays before Christmas we'll have a good manners day on the road for driving. I drive a school bus and people have no manners at all. It takes 2 seconds to let someone out. People have manners at roundabouts in Old Town. We should all have a Friday where we let people out. That comes in from Paddy McGettigan. Paddy, what should we call it? We need a catchy title. Friendly Fridays? Should we do a Friendly Friday where we're all polite and say hello and how are you getting on, and we wave to each other as we let you out and we say thank you for those being let out, give the horn a wee toot or whatever it might be. I don't know. It's an idea. Friendly Fridays, we could call it. Congratulations, Tanya, and the Ramelton Community Employment Scheme and everyone involved with contributing to the calendar production. You did great work around Ramelton. Best of luck with your street sweeper. No better woman, Tanya, from a Ramelton resident. I agree totally with Senator Eileen Flynn. Travellers and men especially are taking this avoidable option far too often, and it's not being highlighted and even worse addressed in an effective, joined-up thinking, evidence-based way. Following the documentary on Travellers, says another listener, it was apparent that he was bullied online. The first ad that came on after the show was for mobiles. The government have a lot to answer for. Children under 18 should not be allowed to have mobile phones. There's too much pressure on parents to buy them for children. Listen, thank you so much for all of your comments, and thank you very much for listening.